All right, so hello everyone watching live on Twitch. It is a blessing having you all here, and hello everyone on YouTube. I hope everyone is doing great as usual. Well, I am everyone's father, you know, after all of my dear children watching here. So what I'm going to do today is a season 3 tier list from my humble perspective. It's been now over 4 months actually. Time really flies, but it's actually been 4 months since season 3 joined us. And as Michael Murray has somewhat hinted at a season 4, you know, it's soon August again, you know, time flies, and I guess I just want to get a tier list out there because it feels like the game is changing so quickly that I don't know for how much longer we're gonna have season 3. So I just want to get this out there, and I do want to say that I'll be doing a quick introduction, as in why am I even making a tier list, why do we do tier lists. A lot of people find they are a waste of time. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to get into the characters, and it would be great if a YouTube commentator would make timestamps for each and every character. I'd like to thank you in advance for doing that, would be great. But yeah, so I'll be trying to make a tier list. I've actually written a little disclaimer here, which is very important to read, and it says that tier lists are subjective, not objective. So that means that this will be my opinion, and I am for sure not the best Tekken player in the world. I've been a fan of the game for 20 years, well 24 years to be very specific. And I'm a YouTube content creator. I got 97th place at EVO, which I'm very proud over, but yeah, still 97th place. So far from the best player in the world. So this is a very subjective opinion, and you got to remember that Tekken 7 is a very, very balanced game. I'm gonna spoil things here and say that right now Leroy is the best character, and at the bottom you have Geese, and compared to prior games, they're very close to each other. Whereas if you take Tekken 5, the best character and the worst character, you know, they're so far apart. This is a very, very balanced game. So it's much more about the player. And the following tier list will also be based on a professional level of play. It will not be accurate for beginner, intermediate, and high level of play. I like to break skill levels in Tekken down into beginner, intermediate, high level, and then professional level of play. So this will be looking at professional level and maybe the last few, the latter stages of high level of play. So it looks very, very different if you're in lower ranks, I would say. So why even make a tier list? Are they viable? Tekken is more about the individual player and his approach rather than the character. But this is why we make tier lists. If you have two players who have the same amount of skill, and they both know the character matchup, the two characters involved in the match, and they both understand the opposing player's game plan and style, those are different things, then suddenly tier lists apply. If one of them is playing Leroy and one of them is playing Geese, you will see the Leroy player win more in the set. That is where tier lists apply. But the game is overall so balanced that it's much more so about the player handling the character. You know, how is he going about it? What's his approach? Does he know the matchup? Does he know his opponent's game plan, his particular style? So tier lists, you know, take it with a huge pinch of salt is what I'm trying to say. And the same can be said about online ranks. I see a lot of people say online rank doesn't matter, and that's half true and half mistaken. Because if you take variables into account, like you have two players, they play the same character, they both have a great connection, they have both played the same amount of time, and they play in the same region. Well, suddenly, I would say, if one of them is Emperor and one of them is a Brawler rank, I would bet on the Emperor player being a much stronger player. But of course, as soon as those change, you know, different region, one has a really bad connection, they play different characters, of course, suddenly the rank is not as precise, but it gets a bit skewed from there. And the last thing I'm going to say, no wait, it's not even the last thing, quite the intro here. Some characters, this is a point where a lot of people have been frustrated when I made tier lists before, that I devote a lot of time to some characters, and some characters I throw into a dumpster. But that was the old main man. I'm not going to dumpster Alisar Lei today. Okay, only Lei. No, I'm going to... I do have subscribers who play every character, and it is a bit disrespectful to not include certain characters. Everyone will be included today, but I do like certain characters more than others. I'm just trying to prepare you for that. On some characters, I might actually talk for quite a long time, versus certain characters, I might not say too much. So I just want to brace yourself for that. And I will be placing them in strength order. So it's going to be from S, which is pretty much overpowered, as you can see there, to very strong, strong, average, and then below average, and then genuinely bad. This is a bad character. So those will be the tiers, and I will try and even on the tiers put them in strength order, but again, it's such a balanced game, and it's so opinionated, you know, it really is subjective. But so, that was the intro. Sorry for boring you to death. Those of you on YouTube can probably skip that, but it's just so that you know where I'm coming from. But so, alright, let's start. So at the top, maybe not surprisingly, I'm putting Leroy. And I almost don't have to say anything. I'm certain the community knows about Leroy and how problematic he is. And I've dedicated several videos to him that you can watch. Several content creators have done the same thing. Pro players have talked about him on forums and on Twitter. The character is a joke. So I'm not going to go into specifics here. He's completely overpowered. But what I do want to say about Leroy is honestly the tragedy of the character, the Greek tragedy. So hyped for him, he was going to be my new main. So cool, so visually appealing, like 10 out of 10 design. And then he drops. The gameplay is completely uninteresting, and he's completely overpowered. But the overpoweredness I would have been willing to forgive if it was not for the fact that the gameplay design is so uninteresting. He doesn't specialize in anything. He does everything. So, and it's taken too long to patch him. So whenever he is patched and maybe even fixed, I just know that personally, the sour taste in my mouth will never leave me when it comes to Leroy. Whenever I look at this character, all I will see is the launch month, you know, where he just, you know, annoyed everyone in ranked. So it's a tragedy. They had such an opportunity with this character, but I think what happened was that they saw the hype for the character and they panicked and they were like, okay, you know what, just give him everything. Don't focus him on something, give him everything, take no risks, make him overpowered. And I think that was to the detriment to everyone who's a hardcore fan of Tekken. But I hope they got a lot of dollars. I hope this brought in a lot of newcomers. But then he's gonna get nerfed, so maybe everyone will leave then. But that's my opinion on Leroy. Next to Leroy, I will not be putting Akuma in S. I reserve S for overpowered. And I don't believe Akuma is overpowered, as annoyed as... Yeah, obviously, he comes after Leroy, arguably the best character in the game. But something a lot of people don't understand about Akuma, a lot of people are very annoyed at this character, you know, and rightfully so in some instances. There are always clips floating about on Twitter from a tournament where with 2 bars and rage, you know, you've seen this before a million times, someone gets exploded and everyone's like, bullshit! It can be a bit bullshit, but the execution required to get that mileage and output and efficiency out of Akuma is absurdly high. Very, very few people will ever be able to do that. You have to put so much work into it, and even if you manage to get that execution, being able to do it reliably, especially in tournaments and online under pressure, most people just can't do that. So he is very, very strong and at the top if the player is insanely capable. Most Akumas you'll be able to blow up easily because they do the same demon flip flowcharts, they don't have the execution for the big combos. But if you do have the execution, holy shit, the damage output, the insane 50-50 with down 3 and while standing 2, which itself is a mix-up if you demon flip or not. The absurd tech catches and tech he has at the wall, the cross-up Tatsu, the defensive options with jumping, EX Shoryuken, the down 2 keep out is absurd. The counter hit down 1-2, they removed Geese, dick jab counter hit combo. Akuma still has that and it's as dumb as it's ever been. So again, yes, he has absurd game-breaking tools, but only if a player is highly competent. So that is Akuma. Great punishment. Next on the list, I have, let's see, Jin Kazama. Probably not very surprising. A lot of Jin players were very worried going from Season 2 to Season 3. As in, he got his down back 4 nerfed. It gives you a guaranteed follow-up now on counter hit. It does not give you a juggle. Forward 4 counter hit juggle is harder to do. Forward 3 is slightly worse on block. It is neutral now instead of +1. And also importantly, his standing 4 recovers slower on whiff. But to be honest, in Season 2, he was absurd. In Season 3, he's been nerfed, but he's still crazy. He's still crazy good. But the entry barrier to play the character is higher now. Anyone now can't pick up Jin and just spam forward 4 because it's harder now to utilize. But the down back 4 on counter hit still gives a down 2 for a ton of damage. Honestly, that ever being a launcher was pretty insane to begin with. And he's also helped by the fact that everyone else of the top tiers have pretty much come down a notch. And in short, he's a pretty perfect character. He can do anything, a ton of extremely good moves. Fantastic character. And it's also worth pointing out that in Season 3, he did get Zen 1-free. Well, you know, he already had great combos, and now his combos are even better. Wall travel is crazy. Yeah, amazing. Amazing addition to the character. So Jin is extremely strong. So yeah, Jin players have nothing to worry about. The next character I'm going to put up is Geese Howard, who is one of my favorite, absolute favorite characters and fighting game characters of all time. He's so charismatic. I love him. And this is also a character where a lot of people were worried. I was worried when I heard that the first news we got for the Season 3 balance update was that his dick jab counter hit combo was removed. This was, you know, we saw this coming. It was too much. It was very stupid. But then we saw that as soon as the patch notes actually landed, that his down for 2, oh god, -9. Standing 4, -8 on block. We clunked down the offense a lot. And his down for 1 goes from -1 to -3. It did have extensions, so kind of makes sense. I don't know why it ever was -1, so that's kind of fair. But yeah, a lot of stuff had you worried. And on paper, you understood that he's still top tier, but he's probably not top 10 anymore. But then it slowly sinks in that the new Moon Slicer, so that's his new move, where you now, this didn't used to be the case, but now in Season 3, every time he has one bar, and of course it's much slower building bar in Season 3, and that affects Geese a lot, but when you do have the bar, if you land that 15 frames standing 2, it is 95 damage without wall. Guaranteed. The Moon Slicer is guaranteed after 2 forward 1. That is of course a massive deal, so anytime standing 2, parry into standing 2, or counter hit while standing 1, combos into forward 1, you basically kill the opponent. And he is now the king of the comebacks. It's not Paul anymore. Because they of course also buffed the damage of Deadly Rave. So they very obviously made him now a one-hit kill character. There's a reason why you see me death combo quite effortlessly with Geese. If he has one bar and he's in rage, the opponent basically has to stop doing things. And he has excellent movement. Big side steps. So he will easily step you and standing to you. So he's the comeback god now. Paul is still high up there, but Geese is the new king. So again, huge damage output now in Season 3. And also, due to the Moon Slicer, his sidestep 3, which is an incredible low, it's -12 on block, but it's +6 on hit. But on counter hit now, it's actually a launcher without bar. A lot of people don't know that. You do down 4, forward 1, Moon Slicer. And the Moon Slicer has buffed his damage overall. He used to do like 65-ish from certain launchers, and now it's like 70, 73. So that has buffed his damage, his combos are better. But I just can't overstate how good it is to have a Moon Slicer after a 2 forward 1. No matter where you stand on the stage, he will get you to the wall. Because the 2 forward 1 max mode, 2 forward 1 Moon Slicer, that alone covers a lot of the stage. And then no matter where he started that combo, he has great wall travel, takes you to the wall. So with one bar, it's always wall guaranteed. It's for a million damage. I just want to stress how hard hitting Geese is. And with less execution than Akuma, way less. But still, you know, a lot of execution compared to your average Tekken character. So yes, I just devoted a lot of time to Geese, but his neutral is still strong. He still has a lot of good tools. It's just that he's slightly more clunky, but whenever he fucking hits you, yeah, you basically die. Geese is incredibly strong. He still has great pressure from max mode. He can still keep reasonably safe. Sidestep 3, back 2, down forward 1, forward 4. And of course his strings. His strings are still great. And the 50-50. And still at these great counter hit games. So Geese is very, very strong. Okay. So next up, I'm gonna talk about Mr. Deathfist, Paul Phoenix. One of the for the longest time I've underestimated Paul, but I understand now that he is one of the absolute best characters in Season 3. What he got was, let's just talk about the stuff he got in Season 3, and what dominates is 3-2 into backsway, which now gives him a reliable wall combo. You've seen this, 1 million damage. And what it also gives him is that if he sidesteps you and gets your side or your back, he kills you. He gets 100 damage because 3-2 backsway, 1+2 shoulder is fully guaranteed. Yeah, so, and overall it has upped the damage of a character that already hit extremely hard. Because now in combos, instead of down forward 1, sway 4, everyone's doing 3-2. Sway 4, and it has opened up new combos, especially from his Magic 4. The character just hits extremely hard. He has the best keep out in the game. The down for 2 is broken. His mids are amazing, and it's so safe. And amazing homing moves to keep you under control, you know, don't step me. The damage output is incredible. The best rage options in the game, in my opinion, with his rage drive and his rage art, which is cancelable. And again, as I said, you know, comeback king. There is no such thing as a life advantage versus, or a life lead. You never have a life lead versus Paul. You know, you can have a full health bar, he has nothing. No, be very careful. He'll just stand there and swing safe moves, and if he tags you, wow, yeah, you're fucked. Core circle back 4 is one of the best moves in the game. Super long range, +1 on block, high counter hit launcher, which without wall does 86 damage if you end with the Just Frame Demo Man. 2 of those and you're dead without wall. And pretty good mix-ups, you know, in quarter circle forward 3 is low poke. Yeah, be afraid of a Demo Man. Great frames. Incredible punishment. 14 frame launcher in back 3. While standing punishment is strong. Paul is incredible. Can be played so safe and still, you know, get tons of rewards. Paul is incredible. Incredible character. And now we're gonna go to Dragunov, who is also simply an incredible character. In Season 3, for some reason, while running 2, goes on block from +5 to +6, down 2, doesn't force crouch anymore, but goes from -1 to neutral on hit. That's great for Dragunov. And while standing 1-3, although very bad range, is still a 12 frame while standing wall bounce. So whenever your opponent has their back towards the wall, they're going to be very careful about throwing -12 lows. And all lows are -12, basically. Some are -11, but, you know, very few and far between. And basically, great example of momentum-based character. He's like a locomotive, a train that just keeps going with the most oppressive moves in the game. And, well, I mean, just like Paul and Jin, a perfect throw game. 1-2, 1+2 break. And basically, you just have to try and low parry that down 2 and try and break the throws. An incredible wall travel, incredible combo damage, great punishment. Just very, very all-round, extremely oppressive. And yeah, if you face a Dragunov who has execution and can do while running 2 from point blank, like, you're blocking 70% of a match. But he's a very overall package. Character that can do pretty much anything. Struggles a little bit with the lows, but everything else is just so strong. Yeah, Dragunov is incredible. And then we're gonna put in Law. And Law is a character a lot of people misunderstand because maybe they see green rank and yellow rank Laws a lot, who like to do dragon tail, do flips. You can party a lot. He's a party animal, Law. But what you have to understand is that when the character is played the way he's supposed to be played, he's very, very high in execution. Because Law's potential is gate. There's a gate. All the, you know, yellow, all the free bar yellow rank Laws are locked behind the gate, not being able to access God Law. And God Law are the Law players who've spent enough time to get really good at DSS. And what DSS is when you do, for example, 4-3 with Law, and then back, forward, you know, and he cancels into the DSS stance. If you're able to do this, Law has some of the most absurd frames in the game. And a lot of people don't know this. But let's take an example. Pretty much every move he has that can be cancelled into DSS will get ludicrous frames. Let's look at while standing 4, which is his 11 frame while standing punish. If you punish with that, pop, I think it's like +5. But if you use DSS perfectly, so while standing 4, it hits, and DSS, it's +18. Yes, so no counter hit, normal hit, while standing 4, DSS, it's +18. And this sort of stuff you will see with all of these types of moves he has, like 4 free, cancel, it's like +15. So that is what Jimmy, you know, Mr. Naps, that is what everyone is referring to when we're saying Law is top 3 or top 4, and it becomes a meme. You know, no one understands what we're talking about. It's because most Law players don't have the execution to do that. There are a few of them, I've seen them. There's an American like Ninja Killer or something, I think his name is. And then there's a, is it Hisam? I think he's from Saudi Arabia. Sorry if I'm mistaken in the region and the name, but amazing Law player who can do everything I'm talking about here. And double. Rip also good at Law. So Law, a lot of people get this wrong and think he's a scrub character. Well, scrub, I hate that word. A beginner character. But there is that dimension to Law, but there's also a God Law who is unbelievably good, you know? He doesn't have the best keep out in the game. He has a magic 4, but you have an amazing block punishment. People don't understand this, but his defense is super strong. While standing block punishment, the 14 frame, 3+4, 4, 14 frame launcher, amazing whiff punish, punishes Heihachi's 4-4-2 so easily on block, works well defensively, but then with the offense, he has to get up close, but then super oppressive with his pokes and with DSS, strong counter tools, forward 1+2, good juggles, good wall damage, although nerfed a bit in Season 3, but Law is an incredible character, and strong homing moves in back 4 and back 3. And his down for 2, very strong down for 2. I think it's -7 on block. Pulse is -8, and it's homing. His down for 2 is homing, I think. So Law is very, very strong, very strong. Okay, and now we're going to go to Alyssa, and I have talked a lot, so I'm gonna drink some water. Okay, Alyssa is an extremely strong character, but what I find so interesting about Alyssa is that at the core of the character, and this is interesting, there's a duality. There's an extremely strong tournament character with incredible movement, incredible space control, with far-reaching attacks, both punishment and poking. And she can close the gap. She controls the space. You know this, how she has a lot of moves with built-in movement, where she closes the gap instantly to the opponent. And strong frames. She's so safe. Great punishment. Good damage. Yeah, just takes so little risk. And the punishment was buffed for Season 3. Free 2, kick, bzzz, plus frames, range, damage, 13 frame punisher for hopkicks. A lot of characters got new 13 frame punishers, including Alyssa. And she got a long range 15 frame punish in back 4-4. Launch punish. But the duality is that you have that character who controls pacing, controls spacing, you know, and pokes away at the opponent. Incredible movement. And on the other side, you have a party animal who almost can match, you know, the worst party characters in the game, you know, like, maybe not Yoshi, but yeah, insert a party animal here, like maybe Anna, well, Lei, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe Lucky Chloe is a better example. But she can do both of those. And that's why you see Alyssa so much when you play online. Like, both in lower ranks and both in very high ranks and in tournaments, because she can do all of those things. In green ranks, she can and in high level of play, oh, you can do some buzzsaws if you want. They're pretty good in Season 3. But, you know, if you want to play really clean, safe Tekken, welcome to Alyssa, you know. Yeah, just overall, super solid character. Super solid. And right, yeah, someone says no execution. And yes, that is always good. Having a reliable no execution always makes a character stronger. But that kind of says itself. But Alyssa is amazing. Make no mistake, just go into practice mode and try some of her moves and you'll just see the range on some of her punishes and some of her key pokes. And how safe she is. And the movement, you know. And how she instantly goes from, you know, 10 meters away to boop in the face of the opponent. Incredible. And now I'm gonna put Steve. And this is a character where you are inclined to put him higher because I find him to be so perfect. But the big problem for Steve, I mean, in Season 2 he was arguably the best character. And then Season 3, of course, saw some nerfs, but he gained something nice in Flicker 2 is a counter-hit launcher. That's a pretty big deal, it's really nice. But the big problem for Steve players is now overcoming the hurdle of a down for 2 counter-hit combo now being... I mean, not only does it do less damage, but it's so fucking hard to do. That you see even the best Steve players in the world, you'll see them drop it. And you can understand that, because it's hard. But some of them actually managed to do that, like 90%, and kudos to them, so much hard work. But when you can do all of that, you have absolutely one of the best characters in the game, and one of the best tournament characters. You're so safe. And your opponent, you know, pressing buttons, maybe he's nervous, trying to do things in tournament, and you can just back one cancel, down for 2, just wait for the opponent to kill himself, basically. That's Steve. So safe, so versatile, can be very defensive. If you see Knee play the character, stay away, back one. Can be played extremely pitbull, aggressive. Used to be very bad at 50-50 and lows, and the development team said, how do we fix this? Steve always has to be SS tier. Of course, they gave him the guard break. Blue Spark, boom, breaks your guard, so now you actually have to duck Steve. No, he's ridiculous, and super high damage output. Yeah, I feel like I don't have to say too much about Steve. Best counter hit tools in the game, if you have the execution, of course, for down for 2. Extremely safe, extremely versatile. Best rage drive in the game, in my opinion. I think it's tied with Xiao Yu's is also amazing. But Steve's a pretty perfect tournament character. You know, bad lows, but again, that's why he got the guard break. I hope the music isn't too loud, by the way. So yes, that was Steve. Now we're going to go to the next character, which will be... Oh god, I'm trying to find the character. Kazumi, Kazuya's mother. Again, a character that took nerf hits going into Season 3 from Season 2. Has been nerfed pretty constantly since Tekken 7 Vanilla in arcades. Most of you probably don't know that the arcade version of Kazumi prior to console release was absurd. She was so insane. From certain angles, her down back 4 counter hit, you could launch. you could screw from that. So And her downward one, you know, had unlimited range. And then she got nerfed for console. And then from Season 1 to Season 2, she was nerfed. Season 2 to Season 3, she gets nerfed. Although she did get the 1+2 12-frame punish into, is it Flying Warrior or whatever it's called, into pressure. So that was pretty nice. But she had her key moves nerfed. Down back 4 on counter hit no longer gives you a guaranteed follow-up. Back 2 doesn't spin them around for a wall splat and absurd frames. Yeah, she got some nerfs on some of the most vital tools. But she still, even if they do that to her, she still remains incredibly strong. She still has crazy frames, she still has crazy punishment, space control, just really locks you down. And in the hands of a super competent player who has a lot of fundamental skill, the character is amazing. And the wall damage is really high. Yeah, her combo damage on open ground is not the best. But that's not what she is supposed to be. She's supposed to be a chip, you know, poke them down character. Yeah, Kazumi is incredible. You know, she has so many amazing tools. One of the absolute best fundamentally oriented characters, and demonstrated very well by Ulsan in the Tekken World Tour, and of course if you watch any Arslan gameplay. Yeah, I think most people understand why she is amazing. And next on the list, I'm going to place Julia. And this is a character where I have to apologize. I'm not very knowledgeable about Julia. It's hard to get intel on the character because I see her so seldom. And in tournaments, you also see her very seldom. And this is because the character has a pretty big execution barrier. If you have no execution, her combos do no damage. If you have high execution, her combos are some of the craziest in the game. And if you've seen a good, if you've seen her in the hands of a skilled player, her wall travel is twice that of Lee's. I've never seen anything like it, I have to say. The combo never ends. Bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam, ba bam. And then she screws you. And then she does a while running, what is it, 2-1. And I'm just sitting there like, what is this? You know, I think you could take the biggest stage in Tekken, make it twice as long, and I think she could probably go wall to wall still. Her combos are obscene. And then she has great space control in immediately being able to go, you know, forward 1 on you with its extension. She can dive into your face immediately. She has strong 50-50s, good frames, mad access. That throw can be buffered. It's very strong. Her Okiseme is absurd, especially after bow and arrow. That's her hell sweep, right? And what's it called? The war drum that you can place from a certain range, you know, to make it unblockable or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm not very knowledgeable about Julia, but what is very apparent to me is that if you have someone who's super good with that character, she's a monster. But again, a problem is that execution heavy, so that does not favor her. But yeah, pretty crazy character. I'm gonna drink some water again. I can feel my throat going super dry. Oh, we have Boa Love in the chat. Hello, hope you're doing well. Great honor to have you here, sir. Love your Kazuya. And now we're going to discuss King, who is the last character I will be putting in the very strong category. And so that is my top 10. How many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 characters. But I don't even want to count Leroy because I don't think he's gonna stay the way he is. Hitscan Sedan, thank you so much for subbing to the channel. Thank you so much. And Faceless Robot Man, thank you for 20 months of support. Very appreciated. So, King is the last character. It's a character who just can't stop getting buffed. I mean, congratulations to Lil Majin. Whenever there's a balance patch, I know he throws a party because fixed an issue where King's throws didn't do 120 damage. Fixed an issue where King's back when to punish wasn't +9 on hit. You know, it's like he just can't stop getting buffed. Ever since the arcade release, it's just buff, 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 buff. Now, what makes King so strong? First off, his throw game. Yeah, he's a grappler. He has the best throw game by a mile. The second place on the best throw game list, I would say, is Armor King. But King's throw game, compared to Armor King's, is at the very least twice as good. I'm not going to go into detail as to why that is the case, because that's a video by itself, but you're going to have to trust me here that the throw game is absolutely insane. And now you have excellent punishment in 2-1, back 1-2, who were both buffed for Season 3. So that's 10 and 12 frames. And then for 15 frame, of course, you have a hop kick. The while standing punishment is really good as well, in my opinion. A lot of people make the mistake and think that Armor King has better punishment than King. No, he doesn't. Absolutely not. The one thing Armor King has punishment-wise on King is the Dark Upper, which gives him a very good launching whiff punish, or CD1. King can't do that. King has to rely on forward 2-1, basically, for whiff punishes. But that's not a huge problem, because then you have decent pokes, you have great counter tools in back 1, forward 1, you know, just to keep people in check. Forward 1? Like, that move to me is insane. And more counter hits. Oh, down for 2-1 was buffed for Season 3. It's incredible now. They gave him back 2-1, which upped his damage, gave him a reliable Magic 4 combo for 70 damage. His Okiseme is crazy with the ground throws and everything else. His Rage Drive is excellent, has unlimited potential, I would say. And his combos, ending everything with Shining Wizard into Oki, it's so disgusting. His forward 1+2, bam, on counter hit, gives a guaranteed 1+2-1 wall bounce at the wall. I feel like it's just, he is so strong. He's a little bit flawed in the poking. His lows aren't the best, although he has now Armor King's down 3 for +1. But the character is amazing. And then you have to add that if you are a creative player like Lil Majin, you have an endless move list full of weird attacks like forward 2+3, forward 1+2 unblockable, 1+4 unblockable. It never ends. A lot of weird moves where if you are creative, you can do some crazy setups to really throw your opponent off. That is something you have to include when you measure his strength. King is incredible. And it's kind of cool to see King so strong. It must be the first time since Tekken 1 where he's really been like crazy. Those were the very strong tiers. So that, in my opinion, is the strongest characters in Tekken 7 Season 3. And now we're going to go into strong. So this is still, you know, great characters. And here I'm going to start with Marduk, who is another character I undervalued and underappreciated a lot when he was released. Because I was like, how can you even work without a steady, reliable down forward 1? He doesn't have that. How do you make that work? No, he's so clunky, so slow, no really good panic moves. But then as soon as you see strong Marduk players, you're like, oh, okay. So that's what you do. You spam tackle and you spam, you know, well, spam, you know how to use certain counter hit launchers. You know how to place them instinctively very well. And so, oh, and you see Rage Marduk. It's like, so let's just start by saying the comeback potential on Marduk is through the roof. Again, no such thing as a life lead versus Marduk. You might have a full health bar, but if he's in rage and he gets a counter hit on you, oh, you just died. You know, and the wall damage is out of this world. He doesn't have to go for the ground throws to get good damage there, but if he does, and he gets a hard read on you, you're dead. Disgusting Oki. Great counter hit tools. Good homing move at back 2. Punishment is great. While standing punishment is garbage. That's the big thing with Marduk, where it's like terrible. And of course, no down forward 1 limits him in the poking, but strong jab with an extension in down 2, so high mid. Strong jab, very strong 15 frame launcher in down forward 1. Excellent throw game. The tackle is one of the strongest gimmicks in the game, in my opinion. I mean, you think inside of your heart that, well, come on a rational level, you know, that's a gimmick, and top players should be able to easily get out of that. No, they don't. No, they don't. Everyone, it's a freeway mix-up. A lot of people have a very hard time dealing with that, even pro players. And when pro Marduks know how to set up that tackle, you know, from Oki or whatever, it is one of the strongest gimmicks in the game, by far. And, yeah, again, did I mention the damage output? Because, yeah. And, again, in terms of counter hit tools, you know, his while standing 1-2, back 2, the new low quarter circle forward 2, you know, minus 12 on block, plus 3 on hit, right? And on counter hit, what, 60 damage? And floor breaks on Forgotten Realm. Yeah, Marduk has a lot of great tools. Yeah, amazing character. But it's worth noting that you really have to know what you're doing with Marduk. He's unconventional compared to a lot of characters. Although you can cheese quite easily, as soon as you go to high level of play, you know, it becomes much harder. But the next character I'm going to put here is Shaheen. Again, a very, very strong fundamental character. Super easy game plan, no execution. Those two, don't underestimate how powerful those two are. Great pokes. Did I say super duper, super easy? I mean, it certainly helps if you have a fast slide input. But can force a 50-50 easily with that. His orbital upward free is a safe mid launcher. Pretty crap on range, but still it's a safe mid launcher. The hop kick is an excellent whiff punish. The down for 2 is a great keep out move. His block punishment is great. Great counter hit tools as well. Very solid frames on a lot of his attacks. Can stay very safe while chipping away at you. His 4-1, or yeah, 4-1, right? Great counter hit tool. His lows aren't the best. He doesn't have, you know, that low like Kazumi down back 4, which connects and builds momentum, you know, momentum building lows that gives you +3, +4. Doesn't really have that. But in terms of everything else, he has it, basically. Well, doesn't have a perfect throw game, you know, which you see with characters like Dragunov, Paul, Jin. But overall, very strong character, high damage output if you know what you're doing. Yeah, he's very solid, very solid. Okay. And now I'm going to put the first Mishima. And I was... For a long time, I was scratching my head here. I wanted to say that Cassia, I might as well put, let's talk about both of these characters. I really wanted to place Cassia over Devil Jin. I felt for the first few months that Cassia is stronger than Devil Jin. But the thing is that what Devil Jin always wins in versus Cassia is that he's more all-round. You just simply cannot underestimate how important it is in this game, in high level, to have a down forward 1 that is 13 frames. Cassia's is 15 frames, and garbage on block. That alone is a huge deal. And then you have a space control that Devil Jin has in back forward 2-1 to lock people down, and a mid string to keep people in check that usually is not punished due to the fear of a third hit coming out. Devil Jin will always be more all-round than Cassia, and I feel that that is the most important in high level of play, but I put them right next to each other. Devil Jin did get, it's a huge nerf, Devil Jin's up forward 4 not giving a guaranteed back 4. If he still would have that, he would be here, in my opinion. But that's such a monumental nerf, in my opinion, that he just drops down a little bit. Devil Jin, just a perfect character, has a perfect, has a perfect throw game. He has every break. He has an amazing 50-50. Got nerfed a little bit with the up forward 4. That was the safe, high damage, easy mid option. Doesn't have that, but still has a great 50-50. The Hell Sweep is dumb. His new back to 1 string, which gives, on the wall, the Thunder God Fist, easily 1,000,000 damage. That was a damage buff. His damage is very high. Yeah, and great poking. Has the electric, has while standing 4, has a million amazing tools. Devil Jin is still a really good character, but yes, losing up forward 4 into back 4 is a big deal. So Cassia, the thing about Cassia these days is that he's not as risky as he used to be. People used to be able to, this happened already in Season 2, where suddenly people can't just step left anymore all the time, because the electric now tracks. It's like, that's the biggest buff Cassia's ever gotten, to be honest. And then he's seen a lot of really nice buffs, like down back 2 being a super mid. It's -9 on block, safe, but if it connects, what does he do? Bam! It gets a guaranteed forward 4. It's basically like Devil Jin's old up forward 4 minus the low crush. And forward 3, no matter the launch you get these days with Cassia, enormous damage. If you can do it, triple electric, back to 1, you know the drill. Forward 3, 3-1-4. Forward 4 has less pushback than ever on block. Amazing. Back 4 is super fast now. Comes out at 17 frames. An amazing homing move. The damage output is obscene. And he has, great tools. Sidestep 3, down for 2. But Cassia's problem is always that he's a little bit slow to get going. He needs a little bit more frames than, the best character, the really best characters, to get his good moves out. He needs a few more frames, and that will always hurt him. He needs hard reads because he's taking risks. And as crazy as everyone thinks that 50-50 is, it is great, but again, you need a little time, to get that going. If someone's pressuring you like Steve, you can't just try and 50-50. He always needs the knockdown into good reads, because if they do block the Hell Sweep, he dies. But is he an amazing character when someone has incredible execution and incredible knowledge of a cast? Absolutely. A momentum monster. He just needs the knockdown, and then it's, wow, the party starts, Great Oki with forward 4. And the damage output is higher than ever. But when it all comes together, I just don't think he can be called stronger than Devil Jin, because Devil Jin is too all-round. As crazy as Cassia's damage is, and some of his tools, He doesn't have a throw game that Devil Jin has. He doesn't have an up 4 to scare people off. He doesn't have a space control. He doesn't have a 13 frame down forward 1. He doesn't have a super reliable 12 frame punish in back 1 2. Devil Jin has a reliability that Cassia will never have due to their fundamentally different character designs. And thank God for that, because this is what makes Cassia interesting compared to Devil Jin, in my opinion. So, I hope that covers both of those characters. And now we're going to go into Safina. Safina is interesting. It's probably the greatest comeback ever in Tekken. No one thought she would be released. I was hoping she would be, but I never thought it would happen because she had abysmal character usage data in the games where she was featured. Tekken 6 being her first game. And then she was obviously featured in Tag 2, but in none of those games she was used, like, at all. And I always thought, as annoying as she was to play against due to her very confusing style, she's a confusion type character. That's what I call characters like Lei, Eddie, Safina, Yoshimitsu. They play rather than a fundamental approach like Kazumi, they play confusion. Usually big move lists, string heavy stances to try, throw you off guard, test your knowledge a little bit, stress you. She's that archetype, but I didn't think she would come to Tekken 7, but it's, what was I trying to say? Beautiful animations. Beautifully animated and so different. Scarecrow, Mantis, Tarantula. It was too bad that she was going to, be left off, die after Tag 2, considering no one played her, when she's so beautiful to look at. But then, of course, she comes. Good phrasing. She is released for Tekken 7 with Season 3, and what a comeback. She has a great new design, in my opinion. She looks better than ever, and she has the Azazel Claw gimmick, and holy shit did they buff her. Like, her movement, absolute best movement in the game, and you have to try this for yourself. No matter what character you main in this game, I promise you, if you take Safina to practice mode and try doing some sidestep and backdash, you're going to go like... You'll feel a very noticeable difference, no matter what character you main. Her movement is insane. And then you couple that with a down for 2, which for sure is 16 frames, so that's 1 frame slower than your typical down for 2, but has incredible range. And you have a character that, with movement alone and well-placed down for 2s, can really fuck up your opponent. And then she has some pretty good moves like forward 3 to start momentum, great on hit, great on block. Some really good low pokes, like back 1+2, down 3, is it down back 3 into Scarecrow? Her down forward 1 is pretty damn good in my opinion. Not the best damage output without walls, but with walls it's insane. Again, very confusing matchup. Has so much crushing ability. Not the hugest move list, like 80, 85 I think moves, but a lot of them are strings where she can, choose to end it at first hit, second hit, third hit, fourth hit. Very confusing. But some deadly pokes and some great moves. And damage output was buffed in Season 3 with back 1 getting more reliable, easier to do. So you do get some damage. But I think her strongest asset is her movement. So if you're good at that, she's great. But I think that captures Safina. Let's see. Next character is going to be Ganryu. This is a character where I also kind of want to apologize and say that I'm not the best in terms of describing this character. I don't have a lot of knowledge. I see him very seldom. But what I do know is that this is a character who's an absolute monster as soon as he can get up close to you. As soon as he is a little bit out of range, he's not as effective at all. And the character crumbles a little bit, even though he has a very long range down for 2, which is again 16 frames, I believe. But when he is in your face, he has some of the most oppressive pokes and tools in the game. And can really fucking lock you down with frames. And the damage output is scary. If the opponent, again, it requires some execution, but if they know what they're doing, insane damage, especially with wall. Has pretty crazy mix-ups with his new stance with an unblockable and +9 on hit low. Has pretty strong counter tools. And oh, fuck me, his 10 frame. Speaking of counter, it's his 10 frame headbutt. Yeah, that one is pretty sick. And one of the best lows in the game in down for 3, which is it +5 on hit and forces crouch? I think it is. So again, it doesn't have the best range. So again, this just goes into the character design. If you ever fight Ganryu, please keep away. If he's ever in your face, he has some of the craziest tools. So Ganryu is amazing, but again, he has to get close. If certain characters can quite successfully hold him back, and that's going to hurt him a lot. But yeah, Ganryu is very scary. The next character I'm gonna put up in strong is Bob. Bob also has seen some nice buffs. Overall, very all-around. Basically, super strong, other than the fact that he doesn't have a 15 frame down for 2 that launches on normal hit. His down for 2 launches on counter hit. And that's it. Other than that, Bob is a pretty perfect character, in my opinion. Some of the craziest pokes, crazy frames, amazing punishment. I think his 12 frame Punisher is among the best in the game. It has so much range, so much damage. Has a 14 frame while standing launcher, while standing 2-1. Yeah, a lot of amazing tools. Bob is amazing. The only problem is you don't have a 15 frame standing launcher. Basically, that's how I see Bob. It's interesting to look back at Tekken 6 Vanilla Bob, who had a down for 2 launcher, and that was not a well-designed character, because then it was basically why play any other character. Next character I'm gonna put up here is Jack. This is a character, in my opinion, that a lot of people underestimate. I think on a lot of tier lists I see him pretty low, pretty mid-tier. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is going to end up being pretty mid-tier on my list as well, but he's a strong character. He has, I mean, how do you describe Jack? Extremely simple to play. Extremely simple. And that's a great strength. And again, no execution. Great space control. Keep away from me. Longest arms in the game. Down for 2 hits from 50 miles away. Best low poke in the game, might be. In full crouch down back 1. Super reliable combos that do decent damage. High damage wall combo, great throw game, incredible wall pressure. Crumbles a bit when people pressure him and people are in his face. He has a terrible sidestep. He does have a forward 2 for a 10 frame counter hit, get away from me, that does huge damage with the follow-up forward 4. But this is a character where, again, if you play someone who has incredible fundamental skill, Jack is one of the scariest characters in the game. If they know how to utilize backdash very well and we know timing, we know how to place moves. Forward forward one of the best mids in the game. Yeah, he's incredible. So that is Jack, and now I'm gonna put Brian. This is a character I feel a lot of characters, a lot of players on release thought that he was going to be, you know, top 10 due to his buffs. And a lot of people thought, you know, down 2, which is a -2 on block, I believe mid, correct me if I'm wrong, it was buffed to +8 on hit. And that was seen as, you know, just obscene. But the problem with that move is that in terms of, you know, range and tracking, is not the best. So it didn't become, you know, this go-to poke tool, even though it's nice to use once in a while. But what really happened with Brian in Season 3 is that his punishment, which has always been lackluster, pretty lackluster, you know, he does have a 14 frame bufferable launcher in Jet Upper. But overall, the punishment has always been pretty meh. But now he got a pretty good 12 frame punish in 4-3. That statting 4 has a lot of range. So 4-3 is actually pretty damn good. Does solid damage. I think it gives him +4. And they also sort of fixed his while standing punishment in giving him full crouch down for 2-1, which is a very, very damaging 13 frame while standing punish. It does not launch, but it does a lot of damage at wall splats. So that was pretty damn great. And other than that, he's still Brian. He has some of the best keep outs, some of the best counter tools, great wall travel, great combo damage, super oppressive at the wall. If you know what you're doing, he has the best unblockable in the game in the taunt. And the best, you know, turtle killer, turtle break, guard break in the game, in the taunt. But we're talking, you know, top 0.1% of Brian players here. Most people can't get Brian to do what optimal Brian is. You know, it's very, very difficult. And incredible space control with amazing homing moves. And great range moves to keep people from backdashing needlessly as well. And forward 4, you know, orbital, you know, magic 4. He's great, but he's also held back by the fact that when Brian is poking away right next to the opponent, doesn't feel very effective as you don't have a down forward 1, you know, to keep people honest and in check. Down for 2 is no substitute. It is a 13 frame mid, but it is -6 on block, right? Or -7. It's just no substitute for a down for 1, which is around, you know, -1 on block. There is just no substitute here. And doesn't have a hop kick. Doesn't have a down for 2. Doesn't have a down for 1. Extremely unorthodox Tekken character when you include the taunt as well. But that's what makes him so interesting. But only has 1+2 throw breaks. Can't really scare people. It doesn't have a scary 50-50 to get people to duck. All you have is the hatchet kick, which is not that scary. But that's where the taunt comes in. But again, now we're talking super strong players. And probably not super tournament viable, you know, due to the aforementioned problems in his game plan and the fact that at pro level, high level, you have to taunt, and that's super difficult, especially in clutch moments, you know, when you're stressed. And that's why you don't see people play him in tournaments other than Naps, you know, who is super composed when he plays Tekken. So he doesn't really crumble mentally, and he always has access to very high execution. And that's the only type of player, I think, who will do 100% output with Brian. So, that was Brian. So again, he's strong, but he's held back by some holes. Now I'm going to place Josie, which we all get highly annoyed with when she cries, "No, I can't believe I won, look at me teats, look at me teats," and then doing strings, you know, and it's so easy to get cheesed to death by Josie, but underneath all of the spam, sorry, I just have to say spam, there is a very strong character. Like, where do we even start? Like, counter hit, absolute monster. With yeah, I don't know. I'm not even gonna mention all the counter tools. And very extremely pressure heavy with a lot of strings that go into her Muay Thai stance, much more so than Bruce. Yeah, amazing defensive tools. Her down for 2 is, what? Is it the best down for 2 in the game? Range, crushing. It is -12. Hop kick also has crushing. She has a safe orbital that will launch you. And she jumps over you and then launches you, and it's safe on block. For some reason, I don't know why. She has a 13 frame while standing punish, just like Bruce, for enormous damage. Her 12 frame punish, 4-4 is really good. Her 10 frame punish is really good. Did I say crazy counter hits? Did I say crazy whiff punish with CD2 and down for 2? Yeah, it's like defensively, this character works really well. Much better than everyone thinks. Everyone thinks you have to press buttons with Josie. Absolutely not. Great defensive tools. But the problem with Josie is that if she's playing against someone who has a lot of patience, and it's going to be the same with Asuka when we talk Asuka, if you're playing against someone who has a lot of patience, who doesn't get stressed by all of your strings, knows the matchup, ducks at the right time, you know, or punishes at the right time, you will see the holes in Josie's gameplay and flowcharts. But most players don't have that amount of patience, and they're going to get so stressed by the Pitbull Josie that they're just going to explode, basically. But yeah, good wall travel, especially in Season 3. Average damage without walls, I think. Much better with walls. But she is overall very, very strong. But yes, if she faces an opponent who knows how to go about this, it becomes hard. So I'm just gonna open the window. I've consumed all of the oxygen here, I think. God, I'm talking a lot. So that was Josie. Guys, don't breathe water. Drink water. Oh god, fucking hell. Oh god. So, the next character is Xiaoyu. Can you guys hear anything? Can you still hear me perfectly? I have some noise from the window. I just want to know if it goes into the microphone. Does it still sound fine? All good. Perfect. So, Xiaoyu, what I want to start by saying with Xiaoyu is that also, not to Alisa's extent, but you have two dimensions. You have a competent, fundamental character, and you have the craziest party character in the game. So it's a little bit, they are the same in that duality, but it's flipped. Alisa, super fundamentals, pretty good party. And with Xiaoyu, you just flip that. I would say slightly worse fundamentals, but still really strong. No, sorry, the party aspect is the best in the game, but the fundamentals go down a little bit. So it's a little bit flipped there. But if your opponent lacks knowledge of this matchup or doesn't know it perfectly, and this happens all the time in Tekken, you don't see her that often in Tekken 7. You need a PhD when fighting Xiaoyu. Vast move list, super tricky. Probably, with Lei, probably the hardest two characters to actually learn how to competently deal with. And if you do not know how to do that, there's not a single character in this game who will blow you up harder than, well, blow you harder than Xiaoyu. Like, this is the beginner and intermediate player slayer. Even in high level play, she fucking slays people who have holes in their game when it comes to dealing with Xiaoyu. No other character is crazier. Not even Yoshi can fucking outdo Xiaoyu when it comes to this. And this is a huge strength. But then you have to look at what can we do, you know, on a fundamental level. And here we have the best Oki in the game. The Oki of this character is the scariest in Tekken. It's hard to describe how disgusting it is. I would recommend watching very strong Xiaoyu players like Sodam, and you'll just see the setups he does from all kinds of positions, and it's just unbelievably disgusting. And then she has strong poking, strong 50-50s in my opinion, you know, and the punishment is pretty good with 12 frame forward 1+2. She has a 14 frame launcher in standing free. Her rage drive is arguably the best in the game. Combo damage is pretty crap though, but yeah. Overall, it's so disgusting. And just her get out of jail for free with back 1, which is what, an 8 frame panic tool? You know, boom, get away from me. Immediate Art of Phoenix to crush everything. It's just in the character design that by default, no one can attack you. They have to wait for you. That's how you fight Xiaoyu. Don't do anything. Wait for Xiaoyu to come to you. And, you know, that alone allows her to play off all of her gimmicks so well. It's just the character design. But yeah, the thing is, outside of the party aspect, there's a strong fundamental character. Yeah, she's just really, really good. And, yeah, a creative player can do so much with her in terms of finding crazy flowcharts and setups. And yeah, if you haven't seen every Oki flowchart or whatever, you're in a very, very bad position versus Xiaoyu. So that was Xiaoyu. Let's see, we're gonna talk about... no, wait. Strong. We're gonna talk about Asuka. Asuka is also a character that just keeps getting... cute ladybug, good morning. Asuka is a character that also just keeps getting buffed all the time. Used to be a character that had quite really fucking bad fundamental tools. Used to be like only... She's a very, very defensive character. I mean, you know this, you know, back 3, can, sidestep 4, sidestep 2. A character where, you know, if people press buttons versus Asuka, she blows them up immediately. You know, you just don't do that. So this is again a character like Josie where people have to play it, you know, patience is key. And Xiaoyu, you know, don't press any buttons. And Asuka has a much harder time. She can try and chip away with you with a pretty decent poke in down back 3. Down forward 1, forward foot 3 is an excellent counter hit launcher. For season 3 she got a pretty good string right in, is it down back to 1. Sorry, I don't know. It's pretty good, mostly for combos. But notable was forward 1+2, which is a wall bounce, super fast long range power crush, which is obviously a really good punish tool. But yeah, safe on block. Good damage output, great rage drive, insane counter hit tools. Insane counter tools. But again, that again just goes into people pressing buttons. If people don't press buttons, you have safe mid launchers, you know, including 1+2. You have decent throws. She misses a 1 break throw, I think. She has 2 break and 1+2 break. Correct me if I'm wrong. But the hard low in down 1+2, which knocks down, is launch punishable, has bad range. Yeah, I just feel like, oh, and her, you can really abuse the fact that she has the worst 10 frame punish in the game. It's terrible. So, for example, Brian, you know, pretty good move is full crouch down forward 4, Northern Cross, counter hit launcher, it's -10. Just spam away versus Asuka. She can't punish it, you know. She can do a jab, basically. So that is a big weakness. But yeah, a character that is great defensively, but relies a little bit too much on people pressing buttons. She does have good tools now in down back 3. And some other, you know, poke tools. But nah, overall, you know, the offense isn't that good. But, you know, is she a strong character? Absolutely. Next character I'm gonna put here is, let's see. Is Leo. Leo is a character you never ever see. Like, ever. And I don't know why. Maybe because he's so boring. I mean, I'm getting bored myself when I play him, but he's very strong. So, and he's very easy to play. So I don't know why it is that people don't play him. I think he was a little bit more interesting in Tag 2. I think the combos were a little bit more technical. There is some technicality still in Tekken 7, but not enough. But yeah, very solid. Good counter tools. Down 1 is just a fantastic attack overall. The punishment is strong. I mean, in terms of counter hit, you know, down 1 is a great counter hit mid, and then you have for lows, you know, down for 2-3 is a counter hit launcher. You know, that is what? Is it -12 or -13? Someone help me in the chat. I'm not that knowledgeable with Leo. But core circle forward 1 is also a long range low, which is also what? -12. That on counter hit gives you 50 damage because it guarantees while standing 4 1+2. And yeah, again, with the punishment, while standing 4 1+2 is a great while standing punish. Down for 2 has incredible range. It's really good. But Leo has a terrible down for 1. It's really bad range. Hell sweep tracks, down for 3, incredible space control, long range knockdown wall splat mid, which is homing. It's safe on block. It's really good. Has a lot of good moves from stands. Is it Bok 3? Is it Bok 4? That high. Good on block. Homing launcher. Bok 2 is a safe mid launcher. It's just a very easy to play character that is very strong, but has very bad combo damage. I would say. Very bad combo damage. I mean, from a down for 2, does he get on average like 60 damage? I don't know. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a very, very strong character that no one plays, basically. And the last, my voice is almost gone. But the last character I'm going to place in strong is Negan. And Negan is a character I almost want to place higher, But I mean, I guess this is also a character where you should start from the beginning. He was released in Season 2, he was terrible, and then Season 3 he was buffed a lot. His intimidation stance was finished, it was a work in progress before, I believe. I think they actually they hadn't completed the character when he was released. I think the gameplay was a work in progress, and then Season 3 it's the real Negan. 1-2 into intimidation, and intimidation has much more varied options now, and the options are stronger. Overall, Negan has really solid punishment. He has great whiff punishment as well, with a long range down for 2. His while standing 2 also has incredible range. He has a launching power crush, which you also have to be very afraid of, and this goes in line with the character where he has a lot of moves that are gimmicky and kind of rule-breaking, you know, like an unblockable throw. He has from intimidation stance, he has a backlash in 1+2, which is safe on block, which is homing, you know, it's like Horang's backlash, only super fast. Helping him is no execution whatsoever, the most reliable combos in the game, who all work from behind the opponent, from the side, and disgusting damage and wall travel, very viable strings, incredible pitbull pressure. If you've ever faced a strong Negan who's just attacking you mercilessly, it's so stressful. His 1+2 shove is very strong and counter hit, gives you intimidation 1+2. If they do the setups with that, where they trade a collision with you, they can launch you on counter hit. He has disgusting unblockable traps and setups for people who tech roll or skip the tech roll. Yeah, just fucking tricky, super stressful, super reliable, super easy, damaging, great punishment, great range. Has some pretty fucking good lows, but has some tracking issues to say the least. Some of the greatest moves, like back 1+2, which is a long range knockdown, counter hit launcher, hits grounded, +4 on block, but the problem is he needs a few more frames to get that going. It's not like Cassia's forward 4, which is, you know, 20 frames. I think Negan's is like 22, 23. He needs a few more frames to get the bat swing going. Devastating counter hits in down 2 and the homing back 2. Upward 4, which has no tracking whatsoever, and he jumps in the animation, but it has no low crush at all. But I think he's a pretty fucking good tournament character in no execution, high damage, super reliable, can stress the opponent with crazy pressure. Yeah, and the punishment is excellent. And you know, the punish he got for, I mean, I'm not gonna list all of the punishment tools, they are all so good. But for Season 3, he got while standing 1-2, which is a 12 frame, 32 damage, I think. 12 frame while standing punish. You can use this on any low. That goes into intimidation in, I think it's +7. So if you do a down back 4 with Kazumi versus Negan, he blocks it. Bam, bam, +7, 32 damage. It's quite ridiculous. +7 intimidation, and intimidation is super scary. So yeah, Negan is really good. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot more Negan in tournaments. The next character I'm gonna place in average, or what I want to call normal, is Horang. And this is a character where, honestly, I could have placed him not in very strong, but I wanted to place him in strong. But then I was like, I have too many characters in strong, so I was like, nah, I'm gonna place him in average. And I'm gonna try and explain it as well as I can, but again, this is subjective. I think a lot of people are going to say this character is really strong. He got some very, very nice buffs Season 3. I think most notably, downward 1 free is a great new move. An extension on downward 1. I mean, that's always golden. Downward 1 is such a key utility. It's probably one of the absolute most important things you have. So that also works as a 13 frame punish, goes in line with the buffing of 13 frame punishes. But of course goes into Flamingo Pressure. His back 3 was buffed, it has more range. Now reliably punishes Heihachi's forward 4-2. So Hwoarang getting better punishment, that's great. But yeah, overall the character makes up God, enormous move list, can pressure like crazy. But what I always see as a big problem with Hwoarang is that, yes, we have a lot of amazing tools, but they are always there's a gatekeeper, you know, where you have to go into a stance to utilize them. That's something very few people are going to be, you have to be pretty clever, I think, to play Hwoarang well. And he has absurd frames on all of his stance pressure. You know, all of the Flamingo stuff. Great frames. But it's like you're trying to mix up the opponent, but it's like you're mixing up yourself in the same time. Because let's just be honest. Hwoarang stuff, Hwoarang players, they throw stuff out and see what sticks in the Flamingo. And because there's no good option your opponent has. You can't simply, when you're taking the Flamingo on block, you can't just step to the right and avoid everything, because it's just a giant mix-up. So the Hwoarang player is kind of mixing up himself, you know. He's guessing a little bit. I'm gonna try this. But the problem is, whenever the opponent guesses correctly, you know, he ducks the high, or he blocks the low, Hwoarang is not in a good position. But as soon as, you know, you can really stress them with that Flamingo and they start pressing buttons, doing dumb shit, he's amazing. And when he does get the read, oh, amazing pressure, frames, damage. But it's also uncertain, in my opinion. Oh, I have to get into that stance. I have to get up close, you know, and get the momentum going with a poke or down 3-4. Most of the good lows are minus 13. In a game where a lot of characters have pretty hard-hitting 13 frame punishes, you know, like a lot of characters have a hard-hitting 13 frame. But is he a great character? Absolutely, and I think if you are an amazing Hwoarang player, he's probably higher up on this list, but I simply can't put him there due to the problems he has and his design. But yes, again, if this was a tier list where the approach was beginner, intermediate, you know, this character would be here. So you might think I'm weird putting him in average, or you might even think I'm weird. I mean, even pro players, I think, are going to put him here. I think, because he just keeps getting buffed, and he has a high damage monster, he has a lot of amazing moves, mix-up god, the punishment is actually there now. But in my humble opinion, it is a little bit too execution heavy, it's a little bit too much locked away in stances, and I feel like you're mixing up yourself as well when you're trying to mix up the opponent with Hwoarang. You take risks. So yeah, in my opinion, maybe super controversial. Next character is going to be Master Raven, and also maybe a character you'd want to put here or here. Again, a character I'm not super knowledgeable about, but what I know is super strong keep out, you know, with her core circle forward 4, that flip she does, where it's just impossible to whiff punish it. You know, she'll stand far away and just throw that, and you can't get in. Strong magic 4, very strong mix-ups, you know, low launchers, you know, strong 50-50, what is it? The highest combo damage in the game, apart from like 2D Leroy, maybe some other characters. She has enormous combo damage, especially at the wall. She has no 15 frame down for 2, that much I know. God, I'm not knowledgeable on Raven at all. See her so seldom. But what I do know is that it's just one of those characters where certainly when things go your way, a lot of damage, but as soon as the opponent gets the read on you, blocks that low, you know, ducks that high, kaboom! You explode. So there's a lot of risk involved, but she is tricky to play against. A lot of strong gimmicks, but I just feel like it's a character where if the opponent really knows the matchup, not as viable, I think, on professional level as the characters you see above. So that's going to be my few words on Master Raven. And now it's going to be a character that was very dear to my heart, Heihachi Mishima. Probably the most charismatic character. Love him. Unfortunately dead now, but we'll see. He might be anime dead, you know, where he comes back, you know, 2 minutes later. Devil Heihachi. But without doubt, the weakest Mishima. And might be a character that certain people would put higher, but that would be, you might be able to put him higher, but that level of execution we're talking to get this level of Heihachi is so absurdly high that it's completely unrealistic. And I would say that goes for all of these guys, you know, Cassia as well. It's just unrealistic the amount of execution you need to play him 100%. But it's much more so for Heihachi because, you know, standing punishment, you have to do the electric, and then crouching punishment, the while standing. Crouch cancel electric is not easy. He has now in Season 3 a while standing launcher in while standing 3 1+2, but that is 18 frames, so it's too slow. So it's reserved for on lows that stagger on block. And even if you get that, the follow-up Hell Sweep, CD44, is hard to do. It's not frame perfect, but it's pretty fucking close on a CD input. So it is tricky. When you see the strong Heihachi players, they still do crouch cancel electric because that is faster and it does way more damage. And again, in terms of execution, all his high damage combos revolve around double electrics into 4-2-3. You sacrifice too much damage doing anything other than that. But of course, the major problems of Heihachi is that I think if we talk, you know, beginner intermediate, he's the best Mishima. But as soon as you go into high level and pro, he's the worst Mishima because people know not to press buttons. People will try and get reads on your lows. You can't just spam sweeps all day long. Can't just spam 4-4-2 all day long. So again, yes, he is a rushdown monster, has some of the best highs, some of the best strings, some of the best mids, amazing counter hits, amazing frames. But the problem, the fundamental issue with Heihachi is that he has to kill himself when he goes for lows. You know, you really have to be certain that there's no way in hell he's gonna duck now. Because my mids are so strong. But if he gets that read and block you, you die. You simply do not have a low poke. And that's not launch punishable. You have down back 3, which is something, but it does like 7 damage and it's -13. It's something, but it's not a lot. It's not a Devil Jin low, it's not a Cassia low. So that will always be Heihachi's problem, and again, that's what makes him so beautiful, even if he's so wrinkled, sets him so much apart from other characters and Devil Jin. Super interesting character, but yeah, in tournament play, if you are JDCR and you can crouch castle electrics perfectly, you have the best electric in the world, you have godlike reads on when your opponent will duck and not duck, you can make it viable. But why in the hell would you play him over other characters? You do that only when you are, what I really like, a passionate character loyalist. You know, it's obvious. JDCR loves Heihachi, he loves Armor King. You know, that's the type of player with godlike fundamentals and execution who can bring those characters to do something. But everyone else are going to avoid those characters because in tournament play, holy fuck, are there characters where it's just so much easier. Yeah, JDCR unfortunately a Leroy player now, but yeah, Heihachi is very flawed, but his strengths are great, but he's very flawed. Holy hell, this is a long recording, 1 hour and 40 minutes. So that's basically Heihachi. And again, yes, the offense is great, but not the low offense. Even the punishment, you know, pales in comparison to the other Mishimas. It's simply not as strong at all. Now we're going to go with Feng Wei. Feng Wei is basically the character who has a million great moves, but the moves aren't that super duper great. It's not Jin. You know, although some moves, of course, like his back four, has to be one of the greatest mid pokes in the game. He has a... He's super interesting. Again, beautiful to look at. The Kempo step, the keep out stuff with Kempo, back one is really cool. Great panic move. Great 50-50 potential if you can get up close with the unseeable launcher, sidestep 4. Strong mix-up character, has a high degree of evasiveness, can close the distance to the opponent pretty successfully with Core Circle forward 1 and 4-3 for a mid, but not that optimally. His down forward 1 is really nice. Mid launcher that's safe in down forward 3. Pretty great lows overall. Pretty damn good mids. The best defensive move in the game might be an up forward 2. Get out of everything for free, perfectly safe. Yeah, back 1 to complement that. Very simplistic, I would say, although complicated at the same time, because a good Feng Wei doesn't use 4 moves. He uses 60 moves, basically. He comes as a package. If you don't master the package, you drop the character. So he is pretty complicated to play, but there's no execution. And the combos are always super simplistic. Forward 1 plus 2 bound into forward 3-4, jab, forward 3-4. Good damage at the wall. Yeah, again, like good mix-ups, evasiveness. Kempo into whiff punish is incredible. But again, I feel like you have to be an enthusiast to play this character because, yeah, if we look at it professionally, it's like, why wouldn't I go with a character that also is very all-round, has a stronger throw game, overall better utility in Jin? I would say. Jin doesn't have Kempo, Jin doesn't have an unseeable high damage launcher in sidestep 4. He has a hell sweep at launches, but it's not gonna match the damage. Yeah, I feel like you have to be a loyalist and you have to appreciate the differences and the beauty in Feng Wei's evasiveness, his stance mix-ups. Yeah. I think he's too complicated, I guess, for most people. Next character is Claudio, and this is again a character I thought when Season 3 dropped that I was going to want to put here. Maybe other people will do that, but in my opinion, again, there are a lot of things that work really well, and this is a character that can be played compared to Fengwei with just a few attacks, because they're so strong. You can literally do hop kick, sidestep 4, back 1, back 3, 3, and get a lot of, you'll get a lot of mileage out of that. Very interesting with the Starburst. Yeah, again, underappreciated. It's like a lot of people don't realize that he has a really cool gimmick with Starburst. Really sets him apart, you know. A lot of amazing moves locked away, you know. A blue spark hand he has to he can achieve at any time with a certain move connecting. It's very interesting. Decent damage, especially at the wall. Did get some. Before I get into the Season 3 stuff, he's much stronger in Season 3. But again, feels like a character where it's the same problem as Cassia and a few other characters, where you need a couple of more frames compared to a lot of other characters to get the really crazy moves. You know, like back 1, sidestep 4, his downward 1 is 15 frames. He does have a 13 frame back 3, but it's the same problem as Brian, where it does come out at 13 frames, but it's not -1. You know, what is it? Is it also -6? I don't have this frame data in my head. Is it like Brian's -6, or is it like -4, -5? But again, it's no substitute for the generic downward 1. Although the follow-up he got in Season 3 is very strong. Back 3, 3. Delayable. I think it's only -12 on block. Does enormous amounts of damage. If you get the counter hit, it launches. But again, I just feel like at the highest level, need a couple of more frames. Can be played very simplistically. No execution. That's always a huge strength. Has great range on a lot of moves. While running 2 is so good to close the gap with you and the opponent. You know, so oppressive on block. Can mix that with while running 4 or run into any other mid, basically. Sidestep 4 got a huge buff with a counter hit knockdown. Huge damage. But the other lows come with a lot of risk. And it's basically the character where don't duck. You're not supposed to duck this character. It's a bit like Heihachi. But now he has a good low in sidestep 4. Hop kick, longest range hop kick in the game, now that Katarina saw her range nerfed and Claudio got a buff. So that's obviously super good for whiff punish. And it's so dumb, his hop kick, in the way, and this is the Tekken 7 new beginner friendly hop kick, which we never had before in Tekken, but now with the new characters, they all got these hop kicks where they will crush lows, highs, and sometimes they will evade mids. Certain mids. It's basically the old archetype of the Lily Matterhorn, where you could steal a turn. You do the Matterhorn and you basically go invincible, pretty much. You cancel out all other moves. You go right through it and you launch the opponent. But in previous games, you had to pay a price. If the opponent knew that you were trying to steal the turn and you did a Matterhorn, you were launch punishable. But then in Tekken 7, to make the game more beginner friendly, they took this concept to its extreme and they started putting in hop kicks who steal turns and are only -13. And Claudio's is a great example of this, where it has incredible evasiveness, incredible range, and it's only -13. But it's been nerfed quite a bit. This was at its absolute worst on Tekken 7 Season 1. It was so stupid. Recovered so quickly and had so much range. But I think it's back to original range now, but it recovers slower on both block and whiff, so you have a longer time to confirm a punish on it. But Claudio's very strong. It's just that, again, needs a couple more frames to get the good shit going. And that to me is a problem. But yeah, I wouldn't mind at all seeing people place him here. He is very strong. That's just my opinion. And this one might be a little controversial as well. And this is also a character I've been thinking long and hard about. And it's a character where a lot of people feel he is terrible. Well, I think a lot of people just want to put him here. But I do want to start off by saying that he might be, in my opinion, the worst character in the game if you look at it from a point of view which I appreciate, and it's difficult of execution and difficulty of game plan. And that is something you really have to overcome with Lee. It's that in terms of execution and doing a proper game plan, in that breaking turtles, for example, is very hard with Lee. An opponent plays into your game with Lee if they press buttons, if they try and run into you from a distance. If they don't do that, and you couple that with the super obnoxious execution behind the back two links, which you need, and his 10-frame acid rain punish, which is great if you have execution, down free counter hit into back free launcher. You have to be able to do that if you want to really play a good Lee. And forward 4 on hit into dash back free. You know the drill, you know. They removed some of this hardcore identity by making while standing 2-3 easier, in making forward 3 2 frames faster. And I wonder if he actually did that, because I whined a lot about that in videos. I think that might be a possibility. But that removed sort of that, a tiny bit of that hardcore Lee mentality and identity, making that easier. Also locked behind execution is of course the slide, which is your only hard-hitting low to get people to every once in a while fucking duck you. Because playing Lee is like playing Brian almost, but you don't have a hatchet kick. You have certainly back 3, down back 4 to try and chip away a little bit. But those lows aren't that great. They have no high crush. You have high crush in down 3. But down 3, oh, it got blocked. Oh, yeah, launch punishable. Minus 15 if you go into Hitman. And they removed the tracking on it. It's like, So everything is locked behind hardcore execution, and the game plan in terms of breaking turtles is very complicated and difficult. You don't have a froze. You have a 1+2 break. So, in my opinion, if you're a great player and you really go at it with this character, you put in the millions of hours, I would say you get steady efficiency. I'll put him at average, even though I can't, I can't neglect, the amount of composure needed to play him in terms of, I get stressed, clutch, and who doesn't drop down 3, back 3 once in a while under pressure? So what I wanted to say is that you can almost see him as the worst character in the game if you just take into account the difficulty of playing the character compared to the maximum efficiency and output when you are a specialist, a Lee specialist. It's like all that amount of effort, and this is what you get. And then you can pick a character like Paul, where there's much less effort and higher output, I would say. So that's what you have to remember when you discuss Lee. But is it beautiful to watch Lee players who know what they're doing? Absolutely. Are his kicks and animations inspiration for what I want to do when I was 15 years old and I wanted to do backflips and kicks in my backyard? Yeah, he's awesome. Voice actor is awesome. He's really cool. He's just elegant. But great keep out, back 4, great counter hit utility, some good poking. His down for 2 is good. His magic 4 is good. His down for 1 is really good. Has some built-in crushing. Has got good range. Tracks to one side. Combo damage is very high, I would say. Oki is strong, especially at the wall. But it's just in terms of trying to break a turtle, I find it to be a little bit of a nightmare with Lee, and you have to be so clever in how you go about it. But yeah, if they press buttons, yeah, 2-2 free, down 3, back 4, magic 4, 1+2. Well, sky's the limit. But yeah. But yeah, comparing him to Brian, where Brian can break turtles with a taunt, and Hatchet is a little bit more viable, I would say, than Lee's lows. Lee has a strong down for 1. Brian does not have that. So that's a vital difference. And Lee has a strong down for 2. I don't think it has very good range. I think Hwoarang's has more range than his. And then, yeah, let's just start talking about Paul's down for 2, and you can really see a difference. But he still has a viable down for 2. But yeah, Lee to me, average. If you're really, really good, the character has some really nice nuggets to give you. But it is not a character I can, you know, with honesty put in strong. But a character that far too often people say, you know, oh, he's super bad. He's not. And then I'm going to put in sweet, sweet Noctis, the Lord of the Aura. Noctis, going from Season 2 to Season 3, the Aura, thank God, is not as brain dead anymore, has less tracking. So now they gave him, so now they're like, oh, sidestep, because you can step my Aura, but turns out now upward 4 is a very fast, safe high launcher, which gives a down 2-2 follow-up, and yeah, does very high damage. His combos do more damage now. Wall travel is better, I think, but that was already really good. His punishment is very good. 1-2-2 only gives +1 on hit, so sometimes I prefer to do just 1-2, but it's still good. His 12 frame is good, has got long range, big damage. Down for 2 is arguably the best 15 frame punisher in the game. It has almost unlimited range. While standing punishment is pretty decent. Whiff punish, best in the game. Down for 2, pretty much, to be honest. While running 1+2, has shadow tracking, just tracks like a motherfucker, even though it's a vertical jumping swing. It's like, again, this is a character where if he is allowed to take a big swing, additional frames, it's pretty great. But when it comes to poking, up close pressure, just crumbles, doesn't have a dick jab, bad panic moves, he's just not very strong. Down back 2, if your opponent doesn't have strong reflexes, you know, or online bad connection, certainly super annoying. But it was much more so in Season 2. It was much more oppressive. In Season 3, the opponent has a fair amount of time to get up. Well, there's a mix-up with forward 1+2 there. But yeah, it's just a character that has a lot of holes, you know. But certainly can really, really destroy beginner and intermediate players like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. But yeah, has a lot of problems. But I like Noctis. I really like his design. A lot of the DLC characters they've done a great job with, you know, like Negan, Geese, Safina, Noctis. They are all very different from each other, and I feel like Noctis even introduces a new archetype to Tekken, where he's basically a siege tank, like in StarCraft, where his most effective range, and this was more so the case in Season 2, his most effective range was a few steps away from the opponent, where if Noctis stands right next to the opponent, nothing tracks, basically, other than homing moves. But as soon as he's a few step backdashes away from the opponent, the Aura is homing. Or was homing, used to be. And yeah, people were, he just locked people away with that down for 1+2, while running 1+2, just keep everyone at bay and away. Yeah, it was so unbelievably cheesy, but it was so interesting that a character worked so well from that range. And as soon as people, just like a siege tank, as soon as people got up close, you didn't even have a dick jab, and he just crumbles. And I thought that was very interesting. So the next character I'm going to put in here is Armor King. So this is again a character I'm like, maybe he should be here, but thing is, maybe I have my biased glasses on, but the more I think about this character, the more I feel he just doesn't work. Sorry, I'm gonna have some water. And this is incredibly interesting to just give some context on his release and I'm going to give some context on his release, and then I'm going to give you some context on Tag 2, because it's very interesting in looking at what Armor King used to be and what we thought he was on the release in for Tekken 7. When he was released, people thought he was like, day one it was like he's overpowered, his rage drive gives a guaranteed throw. Oh, I'm jizzing. You know, Armor King players were fucking, you know, dehydrated for 3 days, just splooging everywhere. Crusty sperm, you know, covered their walls. They lost a lot of weight, which was a good thing. And he had, of course, his ever as strong throw game, and suddenly they gave him incredible damage. Turns out, he hits a dark upper and he gets 80 damage. Yes, that's his staple combo. If you have some execution, you know, dark upper, CD1, etc, etc, etc. They gave him down back 2-4, turned into a screw, and this turned into, it's probably the best move he could have ever gotten into a screw. His old down back 2, which always had incredible range and a very, very low mid hitbox. So when they turned that into a screw, it just opened up the most insane combo options for him. And then forward 3, which is a homing high neutral on block, which you can set up throws, weight and stuff. That, you know, on normal hit was a launcher with the new down 3-4-1. And everyone was so blown away by these nuggets I just gave you that everyone was so convinced that he's top 10. I heard so many people say that. But then as time progressed, it was like, he's not strong. And he's not as good as he was in Tag 2. People thought he was buffed, but he really wasn't. They upped his combo damage, but then as soon as in Tekken 7, when you look at his mids, and his just general tools to try and, you know, just keep people in check, it's like, this doesn't work. You will know that in Tag 2, he had sidestep 2-1. This was transferred into, and that was a launcher, a natural hit launcher. Sidestep 2-1, blam, would bound. In Tekken 7, this move was put into Tekken 7, and they changed it. And this almost broke the character, in my opinion, in that I'm gonna explain how it works in Tekken 7, and then give you the superior version in Tag 2. In Tekken 7, on normal hit, the sidestep 2 alone keeps them standing. So you have to commit to sidestep 2-1. And this is now a full-on launcher and does more damage than what it did in Tag 2. But now you have to commit to the whole thing. You know, You have to commit to sidestep 2-1 to get any form of damage on this. And suddenly the move is what? Minus 13? So some characters will launch you. And again, I've told you before, a lot of characters have a devastating while standing 13 frame punish. Brian just joined the gang with full crouch down for 2-1. But what this move did in tag 2 was complement him with a power mid. So a lot of people don't know this, but what this move did in tag 2 was that you could do sidestep 2 alone, and this would just on normal hit knock the opponent down into a guaranteed 3+4. So it was a pretty evasive fast mid tool that knocks down into a guaranteed 3+4, did some damage, and then you get pressure because your opponent has to stand up. And of course you have mix-ups from back turn, yada yada, you know the drill. And this is something that he desperately needs, because the other mids are just not very scary. They just don't do a whole lot. And unfortunately, they have a pretty fucking big wind-up. And in tag 2, of course, you had to be afraid for a follow-up as well. You know, and you have that somewhat in Tekken 7, but you don't have a knockdown. So he had that in tag 2, he doesn't have it in Tekken 7, and here comes the problem. You don't have a lot of viable mids. You have a great throws, you have great whiff punishment with Dark Upper, you have pretty damn good block punishment standing. The wall standing punishment, in my opinion, is terrible. Wall standing 4, sure, chunky, +5. But then, what is it? Then you have nothing, basically, up until the while standing 1, which has a terrible hitbox. This is the worst while standing punisher in the game, in my opinion. The hitbox is broken. It will go right through people in stagger, people who are doing certain moves. It will go right through them. It is so unbelievably unreliable, and it has no range. And on the standing punishment, where King's Hopkick has certainly not amazing range, but it has some range, Armor King's Hopkick is terrible. So many times for a launch, you have to do a very fast Dark Upper, and that's not reliable. And yeah, nice throws, you can step them. Homing moves are pretty slowish. You have forward 3, but yeah, it launches on hit, but that's duckable. It's not super fast. The lows are okay. Down 4, if you know how to space that, is pretty safe-ish. But the lows aren't very scary. The new low, he gets the arm sweep. Huh? Down 3. Oh, that's okay, but King has that. King has that. He just can't build momentum. He never gets any frames. I mean, you can't try and go for a down back 1+2 headbutt, but it's unbelievably slow. And the throws are great, but Kings are about twice as good. Yeah, he has a down forward 1. That's very good. It's better than King's. But when King has an overall package, just does so much more better than Armor King. It's like, I don't know. And even with the high combo damage, I think it's a little bit clunky in that he's not very flexible in the combos. The wall damage is not as good as King's. I think in a few sentences, the big problem with Armor King, and the reason why you only saw JDCR play him is that you always need a hard read on the opponent, because no moves you do will give you frames to capitalize on, to try and abuse stuff, to try and lock them down. No matter what move you've just done, you're pretty much always at neutral with the opponent. Or you're doing something that's a little bit sluggish, that takes just a few more frames, where it's like, I need a good read here that he doesn't press anything. And that's the problem with Armor King. You have to be so sharp and so inside of your opponent's head, you know, that, yeah, in my opinion, it's just not very viable. So yes, that was Armor King. And yeah, the throw game, just, it's great, but it pales in comparison to King. So next up, I'm going to put Nina, and this is a character, again, I'm not super knowledgeable with. I see the character so seldom. Obviously a very high execution character when you want to bring the most out of her with her sidestep 1 cancels and obviously the butterfly combo to get incredible wall travel. But all in all, a very, very pressure-heavy character where, again, if you're playing beginner, intermediate, and even large chunks of high-level play, I would say basically up here, because the strings are incredibly powerful in that the opponent has to react very, very quickly with the appropriate response. Because he's so stressed and the strings are very effective, and also the fact that it's just a character that no one ever sees, so you get a lot for free with those strings. But as I've always said, as soon as you go into the later stages of high level play and pro play, all of those strings crumble to the ground, because they will know that with most of Nina's strings, it basically follows the archetype of high, low, or mid-low, high-low, or low-high. So basically what you do is you block the first hit and then you duck. That's basically how you deal with most of Nina's very abusable strength. I just want to cover this so people know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Nina. I had some controversy with this character when I played her online, and I don't know the character, but I got her quite easily to Tekken God Prime, and I said that it's because of what I just said, that she has very effective strings, and most people don't know the matchup, and that makes it incredibly easy, especially online, to get a lot with her for free. And people saw that as insulting, but people always ignored that I said that, you know, in high level play, it is obvious for people how to deal with those strings. It doesn't work, it crumbles, and then suddenly she takes big risks, and certainly has pretty great offense, but her punishment is lackluster. Bad range on both down for 2 and while standing 2, right? The punishment just isn't there, and yeah, just takes a lot of risks, I would say, overall, and is too execution heavy, I would say, at a pro level. Yes, I don't think I'm gonna say too much more about Nina. Again, a character I just don't know a lot about. Next up, we're gonna go with Katarina, who is the easiest character in the game, I would say. That is her purpose. It's so that I mean, I don't know, I don't want to sound condescending, but if it's one character in Tekken where it's like you want beginners to feel good about themselves, you know, I like winning. I want to get a lot of wins with maybe not a lot of effort. I think that Katarina is a character that fits the bill the most. When in terms of execution, I think it's on minus. In terms of execution, you need it's like anyone can do this. It's actually quite viable to just press one button repeatedly, especially in combos. Very simplistic game plan, which is needed for, and this comes into the designing an easy character. One of the hardest aspects of Tekken is is the movement. And the way they design easy characters in Tekken 7, especially the easiest characters, Noctis and Katarina, is that we don't want the player to have to space their moves too much. Or, you know, people are, oh, our beginner here, our poor beginner is facing someone who has strong movement. How can we negate this? Because our beginner doesn't have movement. Well, we give him moves that have incredible range. So that we can negate movement as much as possible and having to know how to place attacks. So give them unlimited range. And that's what they did with Katarina. And also a beginner archetype is high risk, high reward. Because in beginner and intermediate, people can't punish. So high risk, high reward turns into low risk, high reward. Because I'm throwing moves that hit super hard, but no one's punishing. So I have a hop kick that blows people up, enormous range, has crushing. I have down back freeze, super high damage knockdown, full crouch, down forward 3-4, or is it standing down forward 3-4? I think she has 2 of those. But that's actually a really good move. It's very steppable, but it's a high damage low, knockdown on counter hit, infinite range, minus 14 on block. Like it's very decent. Her down forward 1 was nerfed. But great, easy to use counter hit tools and flowcharts. Unbelievable damage, especially when a wall is involved. It's just disgusting. But all in all, if we're talking pro level, she takes huge risks. You know, people know the fucking flowcharts, the pressure, the tricks, the lows, you know, how to step her. She takes big risks. But this is something I should have explained, I believe, at the start of this tier list, because it's such an important overall general point to make, is that you can't have a character like this that's designed to be, as I explained, for multiple reasons, a very, very beginner approachable character and have them have great frames. You can't do that. You break the game. That's basically what Leroy is. It just doesn't work that way. That's why you're allowed to have, that's why a character like, where's my sweet Lei? That's why Lei works the way he does. He's the confusion archetype where he has 13 stances, a never-ending move list, a million strings, breaks the rules of a game by lying down. So many weird things he does. And then Lei players, some of them complain, oh, why don't we get the sidestep 4 low that builds momentum and the, you know, super strong down for 2, great down for 1 pressure. I want a mid that is +4 on block. Boom, boom, boom. Why doesn't Lei have that? Why? It's because he's the confusion type. You know, that's the trade-off you do, where, you know, Kazumi, low on confusion and tricks, but has great frames and great tools. You know, that's what sets these characters apart. So that's why in beginner and intermediate, and sometimes a little bit in high level, this tier list is completely inverted. If you're a yellow rank player, there's no way in fucking hell Kazumi is here. She's basically, I would say, you know, here, you know. And Lei is up here. You know. The way these characters really shine, the guy, sorry, where was Kazumi? I think it was here. The way those characters really shine is when people have put out years and years into the game. Learning matchups, you know, sometimes execution, learning to backdash properly. And the only reason a character like Lei drops tier-wise is because we're looking at professional play and people know the fucking matchup inside out. But for 99.9% of players, this tier list, it's just not accurate. So that is very, very important to know. But yes, I place Katarina there because, as cheesy as it is, takes big risks, and in high level play, you're gonna get exposed. So that is average, and now I'm going to start with below average. Let's see. I'm gonna post Kuma and Panda first. Again, just characters. Maybe I should stress this, that this is where you will see a lot of characters that just stomp pretty much everyone online. 99.9% of players, but at pro level, it's just a weaker character. So Kuma and Panda, weirdest hitboxes in the game, a lot of really weird gimmicks. Does have very long arms. Rangshu proved that it works, but then a problem was, that was what? Was it season 1 he won? I think it was. And then now here comes season 3, and Kuma is nerfed. Kuma is nerfed. And that came as a shock to the community, because it's not like it was a character everyone thought was really good. Oh, it was season 2, my bad. But yeah, I don't know, to be honest, why they nerfed Kuma. Maybe they felt he was too strong for such a gimmicky character. But the damage is really high. If you get the tricks to work in your favor, great. The down for 2-1 is a great punish. Has some poke utility in down back 2. I think his back 1 power crush is one of the best in the game. Yeah, if people, a lot of people suck at this matchup. I mean, even cooldowns had fucking holes in this matchup. Because the hitboxes are so weird that if they don't know the exact appropriate combos, depending on wall distance, wall angle, the angle of the launch, it's just so much drops. So Kuma by itself is a strength in his hitboxes, you know, and the fact that when he stands, he leans forward, so his legs are very far back, so it can be very hard to use lows on a backdashing Kuma. So the character itself just destroys some people in that if they haven't studied Kuma in a game where you have to study 49 characters, oh boom, you lose. That's always going to be a huge strength. And of course you have to study all characters. I'm just saying that Kuma requires very, very specific labbing. In that, what I'm saying here is that for example, if I play against Brian, my combos work. If I play against King, my combos work. If I play against Kazuya, my combos work. If I play against Kuma, what? My launcher I couldn't even pick up with my usual down forward 1? Oh, I couldn't even... This wall combo doesn't work? Right, because there's no such thing as general staple consistency versus Kuma. You have to lab specifically Kuma with every character you play. This matchup changes a bit, and how viable some of your lows are. But can really keep you away, has long arms, yeah, high risk, high reward, takes risks. Can really annoy you with hunting stance. Yeah, but all in all, yeah, a character I guess I wish I knew more about. I actually wanted to take more time before I made a season 3 tier list, but problem is, you know, season 4 might be upon us soon, and yeah, we're 4 months plus into season 3, so I was like, I'm gonna do one now. And with so many characters, it's like, when can you devote time to a character you never ever see? And the next character is going to be Lily. A character that should not be underestimated. A lot of people say she's shit, she's broken due to broken hitboxes. A lot of people talk about her down forward 1 being busted and other moves. But then you have 37-year-old Gura, who just won the, correct me if I'm wrong, OGN tournament in Korea. with her and played unbelievably well. And it's a character I think a lot of people... I've heard Looney Lily, who's a great content creator and Lily player, great person, check her out, plays Lily. And I always felt she underestimated the character a bit. Like, the Downford 3 is a really good mid. And I don't find the Downford 1 to be terrible. Down 3 is a good low poke. Downford 3-4 is a super long range mid launcher. Yeah, I just find like a Core Circle 3+4 is super good. Very oppressive frames, homing move. I feel like with just a few tools, you can actually get pretty fucking decent offense going. But again, a case of, yeah, tricky for sure. But yeah, as soon as people know the matchup, you're taking big risks with Lily. But yeah, strong evasiveness. Downford 3-4 is a good whiff punish. How is her punishment overall? It's pretty bad, isn't it? There's no way her down for 2 is 15 frames, right? And here you see how knowledgeable I am about this character. People are helping me here. Yeah, 4-2-3 is really good. Yeah, down for 2 is 16, and that's always a problem. But yeah, it's just a character I don't know too much about. But yeah, holds in the gameplay, takes risks, has some good fundamental approach in down for 3, down 3, whiff punish with down for 2, strong movement, down for 3+4. But yeah, just risky. I mean, down 3 is a good low, but anytime you want a chunky low that does damage, you're taking a risk. But yes, I wish I knew more, but I don't. So the next character I'm gonna place on this list is Miguel. And Miguel is a character I thought was not unbelievably strong, but a strong character in Season 2. In Season 2, I think he was around here, only because almost of Magic 4, Savage Dance, down back 3, and Savage Dance down for 2. Those moves were god moves in Season 2. Like, wow, how good they were. But so, then comes Season 3, and suddenly he has no pushback on his Power Crush. His Magic 4 has got much less range. Also nerfing some of his combo damage due to that. His down for 2 from Savage goes from godlike pushback to no pushback. So most of the cast, I guess, launch that now. And his Savage down back 3 no longer forces crouch, meaning that people have access to their entire move list now and movement when taking that. So they can sidestep. And suddenly it's like completely changes his pressure from Savage. And it is also fair point is that he does have a safe mid now in Savage 2, which does a huge chunk of damage. That's nice. But it is no myth. The T-Rex arms, the legendary T-Rex arms, or, you know, he has a lot of range problems with his arms. Down for 1, 2, 1. Insert almost any attack with the arms here. His rage drive is probably the worst in the game. And that is not a good thing when rage options are very vital to this game. In terms of comeback and just changing the tide. Turn the tides in a match, you know. His rage drive is unbelievably bad. And then you're like, oh, was it to get a reliable bound from down back 1? Well, it still doesn't give him any fucking damage from that. And down back 1 is still super risky. And he did get a buff with the down for 1 too, in that the 2 option on counter it knocks down into a follow-up. But the character has decent mix-ups, some decent lows, some decent mids, but some good tools in forward 4. Downward 1-2 is pretty good now, but I mean, overall, no, I just don't see him as very viable. And yeah, too bad with if Savage down back 3 still forced crouch. I don't know why Savage. How do you do Vinny? Is it Savage up forward 3? Why that is not a counter hit launcher? And it's like, oh, it's nice to have an 11 frame back 1 launcher, but has no range. It's this range problem that over and over comes back to haunt him. So that was Miguel. The next character I'm almost done. I'm 2.5 hours into this. So I'm just gonna have a sip of water. Right, now I'm going into Lucky Chloe. No, I haven't removed Lei. I was just making an example before. I haven't placed him yet. He's about to be placed. Lucky Chloe. And Lei is interesting. I'm looking forward to talking about him. He will be after Lucky Chloe. Lucky Chloe, again, a character I have so little data on and information, as you never ever see this character. But that's a huge strength for characters like Lucky Chloe and Lei, in that it's pretty complicated to learn how to deal with them, unlike Kuma. So when you never ever see them, well, Kuma you see quite a bit, but Lucky Chloe, it's like, I know one guy in Europe who uses her, Nurmi in Finland. That's the only Lucky Chloe I've seen. And I saw him like a month ago. And prior to that, I think it was like 12 months to see me. You can go through my stream archives to find the Chloe before that. I never ever see Chloe. And that obviously is a great help to Chloe, because she has so many tricky things, like her Kali roll, rolling on the ground, super obnoxious power crush, breakdancing on the ground where you're like, how do I fucking block this? A throw where she goes behind you and launches you. A hop kick that crushes everything, that is launch punishable, but no one knows about it, because no one ever sees her. No one ever has muscle memory to launch that. I mean, Gimmick City. But if people know the matchup, of course, it's hard for Chloe. She seems, from me playing her like twice, I felt like she has range problems deluxe. I feel like she has to get so close to get anything going. And I feel like the pokes aren't that good. Certainly, when you get a launch, it really fucking hurts. If you get a counter it back 4 or sidestep 4, great tools, by the way. Kali roll is a good tool, but if you're not getting those counter hits or those launches with the gimmick flips, whatever, I struggle with the character. Bad range, and yeah, I have to get up close to not get very much with the pokes. So I just feel like not very viable at all to me, design-wise, it seems, for professional play. So now we're getting into Lei. Lei is a character where I, to be honest, believe that he is pretty fucking good. And I'm pretty tempted right now to put him here. How do you even explain this? Again, this is arguably, together with Xiaoyu, the most complicated matchup to learn in the game. It is so complicated to learn how to deal with Lei. There's so much time that goes into that. Most people don't do that. And now multiply that strength by 10 by the fact that no one ever sees him. So you have the hardest matchup basically to acquire in the game in terms of learning how to deal with him, and you never see him. So for most people, this matchup is such a clusterfuck. We just get blown up immediately. But again, if you know the matchup, which pro players do, oh, Lei struggles. Lei doesn't have amazing pokes, he doesn't have amazing frames, he leaves himself open a lot. But what he does have for fundamental play is very strong movement with the haha step. And this involves some execution, but in my opinion, I'm sorry, this is probably going to be offensive to some people, but I genuinely believe that Lei is seen as terrible because a lot of Lei players are terrible. I just think a lot of Lei players don't get the most out of a character. I think if you had a really, really solid Lei player who had excellent movement combined with the haha step, knew how to place forward foot free, which in my opinion is just an insane whiff punish, knew how to place 50-50s. I mean, he has a homing long range, low, hell sweep now that fucking launches now, does a lot of damage. I mean, that alone is great utility. Completely unseeable homing. And that's why he doesn't have the most godlike mids. He has forward foot free to mix that up with to get a proper launch. But Razor Rush is incredibly good. I think to be honest, if you're creative enough with his tools, I just feel Lei has a lot of dormant potential that I think is not utilized. And also the vast array of moves from his stances that are pretty fucking good. Really strong 50-50s. You know, unseeable low launchers where if you have the execution you can dash in and just catch people off guard with very long range. Combos don't seem to be the best. Wall seems pretty fucking useless. If he knocks someone onto the wall from far away, it seems like he just doesn't have a good wall combo option. So absolutely, there are a lot of lackluster aspects of Lei to point to. But I just feel like when I look at the Lei players we used to watch in Tekken 5, Tekken 6, Tag 1, like Tetsuo Ranka, I think his name is. But now we're talking like legendary Grandmaster Lei players of the likes you've never seen before. They just gods at haha step, forward foot free, placing down for twos. His down for two is pretty good, decent range, and magic 4 into forward for 2 to combo optimally. You know, mixing people up by lying down and whiff punishing. You know, people who really understand what Lei is about, go and check out those guys, and you won't believe what they get out of this character. And that's where I feel that those guys don't play anymore. Where I feel like today, no one uses Lei, and the people who use Lei are nowhere near understanding fully how to play that character or utilizing his incredible movement. So that is my genuine opinion on Lei. I place him here due to the players, basically, in pro play. I would place him higher, I think. I just think the character has a lot of dormant potential. But that's my opinion. Don't be offended, please. And then I'm going to put Yoshi And this is a character who is king of gimmicks. When we talk Yoshi, we like to discuss iMusician, who I think without doubt is the best Yoshi in the world. Let's mention Kane and Trench as well. Plays a little bit more fundamentally with Yoshi. It's kind of nice to contrast them to each other. But iMusician plays Yoshi, the way it's meant to be played. Just being very creative and constructing with this vast array of rule-breaking moves, flowcharts and patterns. Very creative patterns to get your opponent to press buttons at the wrong time or get up from the ground in the wrong way. Well, the wrong way. Versus Yoshi, there's always a wrong way to get up. So incredibly creative character. Rule-breaking tools in Flash, 6-frame launcher, sword, unblockable sword sweep, crazy unblockables, tech traps, evasiveness. I mean, in terms of just outright batshit crazy, you name it, Yoshi has it. But of course, comes with a price. Poking, pretty much non-existent. Punishment, pretty lackluster, right? Although I like back 2 too, but that's 14 frames, right? It's pretty long range. It's just, again, you just can't place him high because people are going to know the flowcharts. And the reason you saw iMusician get Yoshi to top 8 in the last chance qualifier in Tekken World Tour 2019 is because iMusician, from seeing him play, is incredibly smart. Unbelievably smart. He is what the lay players don't have. Okay, I'm not calling lay players stupid. I'm not doing that. I'm just calling iMusician a genius. That's what I'm doing. He understands completely spacing, placing of attacks, and has an almost unnatural instinct for knowing when his opponent is going to press buttons. Be it in the neutral, just standing still, flash, catching his opponent, or just flowcharts where he goes bum bum flash, and he knows his opponent will press, depending on who his opponent is and the playstyle they use. And it's it's just I get blown away watching that, and that's the type of player you need when you have stuff like a 6-frame launcher in Flash. That is, if baited, it's a huge risk, but if you use it properly, it's completely broken and overpowered. It's just that you need a godlike, instinct for getting solid reads on your opponent and understanding their timing. Beat, beat, beat. He likes to press. Flash. iMusician makes this character shine. But I believe that Lei is a absolutely stronger character than Yoshi, but Lei really suffers this problem where you don't have good players. Yoshi on paper just isn't strong, but a godlike player like iMusician can get great shit done, but he's a genius. And most people, it's nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. So yeah, iMusician, last chance qualifier, top 8, but seeing anyone else do that, it's like, holy shit, they have to be so talented. So next character I'm going to place is Eddie. In terms of really good lays, Ahsan Ali, sorry I forgot to mention him, from Pakistan, has a really good lay. Really good lay. So do check him out on YouTube. He has several sets you can watch on Maniacs Gaming Hub. I think you can. I even posted a commentary on him playing against Arslan Ash, but that was in season 2, I think. But he's incredible with the character. He really is. But Eddie, I'm going to place here. Again, a character where if you're beginner intermediate, you hate this character. You hate this character. And it's so annoying to deal with. It feels like he breaks the game when he's lying on the ground and flailing around with his legs, and you feel that people mash. It feels so unfair. He was even featured in the Watch Mojo top 10 overpowered characters of all time in fighting games. And among, you know, completely busted examples of, like, I think, you know, Shin Akuma and Magneto as a boss, you know, completely overpowered characters. They featured Tekken 3, Tekken 5 Eddie. You know, all you have to, and they said, you know, all you have to do is press buttons and you automatically win. But that is only testament to how awkward he is for most people to learn to deal with. But to those of you who get very frustrated with that, I just want to tell you that rest assured that as soon as you put in the time, and you do have to put in some time here, but not at all as much as Lei and Yoshi and Xiaoyu. Those characters are on a complete different level in terms of mix-up bullshit. Eddie has much less than that. But he has some annoying stuff. But if you just learn those few things and those few approaches to the character, boy oh boy, it completely flips. And the Eddie, you know, has to, you know, get sweaty and really do smart things, you know, to get some stuff down. And he's gonna take risks. He's really gonna take risks. So just rest assured with that. If you're stressed with Eddie, a lot of people are. A lot of people shit on that character. Just know that with time, if you keep playing Tekken, if that's what you want to do, Eddie will be much less of a problem. And I guess that explains the character. Pretty interesting mix-up character. Relax is interesting. He has arguably the best keep out in the game with sidestep 3-4. Great panic tools in back 1+2. Upward 4 is a great long range knockdown mid. Some decent lows. His sidestep 2 right now is pretty plus on block, but it's very slow, so it's kind of risky to try and do that, in my opinion. Punishment is decent. I mean, down for 3+4 is a long range mid launcher, which is 15 frames, right? Isn't it 15? And 12 frame punish he got in 4-2-3 now. Big damage into pressure. Back to 4 is a 14 frame punish. He has a 13 frame while standing launcher and while standing 1-3. That's not bad at all. And down for 3+4 is a great whiff punisher. So there is a defensive aspect to this character which works well. You know, be it block punish, be it whiff punish, or be it just standing away from the opponent, doing sidestep 3-4. You know, trying to, you know, it's just such a good keep out tool. But the problem is, you know, when you're facing a turtle who knows how to approach Eddie, and you're gonna mix him up, it's just not in your favor, and you're taking huge risks. So that is Eddie, in my opinion. So now we're going with Losh, who got... oh yes, sorry, fuck me. How can I not mention that? Eddie has an amazing backdash, but he has the worst sidestep. And that can really be an asset and problems. The backdash is obviously a great asset, but you start facing trouble when, in certain matchups, like a lot of matchups, sidestep is a big deal, you know? Playing Eddie versus Cassia and he's waving in your face relentlessly and oh, here comes a hell sweep, a forward 3, and you can't sidestep it, it's not fun. So that's absolutely worth noting. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about what a voice crack. Lars! That was what's it called? Choir boy, main man. Oh, I mean, I've been talking. This tier list is now 2 hours and 50 minutes. Like, my voice is fucked. Oh, God. So, Lars was a character where, on release, when I saw his patch notes, he was one of the characters that were changed the most, going from Season 2 to Season 3. And I think this was because Lars has a very strong lobby. They have a lot of lobbyists, strong lobby groups. Buff Lars, strong movements on Twitter to get him buffed. And there's a lot of emotion here because a lot of tier whores played him in Tag 2 and Tekken 6, and then he was nerfed going into Tekken 7, and rightfully nerfed, mind you, and everyone dropped him. But those who really liked Lars were emotionally very hurt that he was nerfed so much. Most notably the removal of a down for 2, which was, you know, his best move basically. They removed so much of his crushing and evasiveness as well. But yeah, they cut off his legs basically going into Tekken 7. And then they've been very careful with buffing him, even those strong lobby groups. And this is because they don't want him to be what he was in Tekken 6 and Tag 2, because he pretty much destroyed 2 games. He was super strong and super easy. It's basically like Leroy, but not as bad as Leroy, but, you know, still bad. I mean, in Tag 2, everyone had a main and a Lars. People didn't play Cassia and Heihachi. People played Cassia and Lars. Or Bob and Lars. Or Brian and Lars. There was always a Lars, you know. So they've been very careful with buffing him because they don't want him to go back to what he was. But then Season 2 to Season 3 we're like, alright, we're not gonna give him the absolute minimum. Now they actually gave him some proper buffs. What is it? Is it Silent Entry? Down for 1. Neutral on block now. Really good. Can set up his new 10 frame counter string, you know, 1-1-1, which wall splats, good damage. That 1-1-1 alone is a pretty fucking decent buff. He got a Power Crush, which was -10 on Season 3's release, but now they made it safe at -9. Oh, a backlash. He has a backlash. Very nice. They gave him more counter hit launching tools, like back to 1. Fuck. I had all of the. They improved some of his frames as well. His 13 frame while standing 2-1 has better frames. Did they buff the frames on his 2-1? Oh, 2-1-3, sorry, is also a counter hit launcher now, the last hit, which is delayable a bit, right? I mean, those alone are pretty. Oh right, fuck. His also very important. His old down for 2 is back, but it's locked behind a full crouch. It's locked behind a crouch. You can only do it from full crouch. So that obviously is not the same thing, but it's still pretty nice to have that. And a low risk mix-up option with his full crouch down for 1+2, basically. So he got a lot of nice stuff, and so now you're probably thinking like, okay, so why is he at the bottom? Well, it's because, again, this character, 99.9% of all of you out there play Lars. You won't have any trouble. You'll you'll spank people. You will mix people up with his super mix-up heavy playstyle. You know, movement built into the attacks. High risk, high reward. People won't step you, but as soon as you go into pro play, people know, oh, it's Lars. I'm gonna sidestep towards the right, no matter what you do. Oh, looks like I sidestepped 95% of your move list, and you died. You got launch punished. Oh, you have down for 2-1. I'm gonna duck the second hit. Oh, you died. Oh, did you do a low? Oh, you got launched. You know, it's basically a Heihachi with the lows, you know, to get anything going other than going in, full crouch, down for 1+2 to get some damage and +1. It's and poking, nothing special. A lot of his evasiveness has been removed. But again, just so steppable. The homing moves aren't that scary. Back 1+2. Just not that scary. Oh, he gets +3 now on his Hell Sweep. That's a nice buff. Used to be neutral, so that's nice. But it's so risky. But it is worth noting that Lars has excellent punishment. It's really good. His block punish is above average. A lot of people don't know this, but 10 frame 2-1 is nice. His 12 frame is 4-2-4, long range, great damage, wall splat. At 14 frames, forward back 2-1 is a 14 frame launcher, which has pretty good range. You can even whiff punish with that pretty reliably. And at 15, you can do Arc Blast. And then also standing punish back 3-4 is what, 17 frames, I think. And it has like unlimited range. And it's a natural combo. Blam blam, wall splat, big damage. It's really good. I mean, test this in practice mode. You'll be surprised how far away it hits. You know, it's like you'll block a Death Fist from any range. Back 3-4. So, and the while standing punishment is good. Great wall travel. Decent, good damage if you know what you're doing without the wall. But with wall, he has high damage. But yeah, if you're playing against people who know what they're doing, you're playing a very risky character, you know. Oh god, where I'm almost at the finish line here. So the next character I'm gonna talk about is Anna. Anna is a rushdown Unga Bunga. Oh, you know, it's a little bit like her sister. Stress people with mix-ups. But Anna has, you know, the very definition of high risk, high reward. If Anna gets the read on you, you die. You know, launching low, unseeable. Launching mid, kablam, unseeable. Mix-up, god. Basically, is the character. It just hurts so much, and she has super high combo damage, especially with her new move in Season 3. Very high damage on wall. Everything hurts so much. But then you just flip that. When the opponent blocks Anna, everything hurts so much. I mean, you can't even fucking low poke with this character without taking a huge risk. Everything is so minus. And then you add on top of that some super clunky and unreliable hitboxes on a lot of key utility assets and moves, and it's like, even though they did fix her full crouch down for 2 now and it's much more reliable, but this is a character that can blow up everyone, beginner and intermediate. If you're in those ranks, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But Anna players who try and play her at high level and pro level, it's you better have good reads. You know, you better be very confusing in your mix-ups. It just takes huge risks. And then we're gonna talk about, is it Eliza? Yeah, it's Eliza. Like so. Eliza, obviously the original Tekken 2D character, is basically also a clusterfuck to play against. You have no idea what's going on. She's flying around, she's sleeping, she's fireballs, she's jumping into an unblockable capital punishment. Decent counter string in what? Back 1, 2. Can she add a 4 on that? Jumps into a snake edge. everything is very confusing, but when you look at her frames, which you can do now in the game or on a website, whatever, you will see terrible frames. Terrible frames. And when you look at her strings, it's like, so if people know how to duck that or punish that, it's like, this is a character who can look so strong, especially when she's pressuring someone at the wall. You'll be like, oh god, this is S tier. And you see some of her combos, it really feels S tier. But when you look at the frames and you lab, and I never see this character, so I'm always trash at the matchup. But when you do lab the character and you look at the properties of her attacks, you very quickly see that, holy shit, this is bad. And this character relies on people being thrown off by her obnoxious stuff, her flying around, jumping, it's just very gimmicky. Again, learn the matchup and the character is terrible. But helped a lot by the fact that no one ever plays Eliza. So when you go home now, I'm gonna listen to Main Man, I'm gonna lab. You lab for 3 hours. Oh, nice. I know exactly how to counter Eliza. And then 1 month later, still I haven't seen an Eliza, but I do remember how to counter, yeah. Then another month passes. How did I counter that string again? I still haven't seen an Eliza. And then another month passes, and you're like, who is Eliza? And that's when you run into her in ranked. And you get blown up. That's what happens to me. So that's a big strength for those characters. And it's the same with Lei. And now we're gonna look at the last character. I'm almost done. 3 hours exactly right now. So, the last tier is genuinely bad. And this is where I put Gigas. I feel that in this game, every single character is viable. Everyone above genuinely bad can, with a great player, and arguably with some characters, you will struggle much more in high level play. But Gigas, I would say, is the only character where you can say like he's genuinely bad. He's just a step below everyone. Like he is. If everyone else is in one tier, I would say Gigas is the only character where it's like actually objectively he's just one step below everyone else. But so we can start with his strengths, and this is something Dinosaur pointed out very well on the Wave Dash podcast. Is that it's something I felt also when I played the character and looked at him. He's very simplistic. You know, you don't really have to worry about having a 12 frame Punisher with this character, because his 10 frame punish is a 12 frame Punisher. Bam bam, you know, huge damage, wall splat, knockdown. So no matter what people throw, from like -10 to -14, blam blam. And that certainly is much less for you to think about. So that's great. And it has great range due to his super long range jab. And a long range jab is also good to have. And a long range down forward 1. And then you have a down 2, which is also a 15 frame launcher that hits from a million miles away. Is that great to have? Yeah. And you don't have to think a lot. Oh, it's -15. I'm never gonna whiff. Oh, he got launched. Down back 2, no execution, boom. +3, chunky low. Hope for a counter hit, you know. Yeah, and jab and down forward 1, you know, keep them away a bit with long range. Has some gimmicks which you can play around with charged back to his rage drive. Spam his throw. If people have bad throw breaks, just spam his throw. Forward 2, down 1 into Goliath mix-ups with the throw. It's quite viable, and that's a buff for Season 3. Helped a lot, again, by the fact that you never see Gigas, so people are like, oh, completely thrown off by the matchup. But other than that, and maybe a few other things, like, I want to say no execution, but there is some execution in some combos. Unfortunately, there should be no execution, but there is some. But once we, you know, look away from those little okay things, you know, in general, the character is extremely weak. Like, so sluggish, weak frames, bad tracking on key moves. It's like, you find one move. This is me labbing Gigas. Oh, back 1+2. Nice. Okay, it's super slow. It's like 23 frames or 25, I don't know. But it is a mid that gives me +3 on block. Nice, so he does have something to give some mid momentum on block, you know? And then I try and sidestep it, and it's like, oh, you can super easily step it to both sides. And you're like, oh, God. You know? And that's the way with most of his moves. It's just not good moves. And for such a strong, you know, big, intimidating monster, oh, he's gonna, as soon as he gets close, he's gonna be a beast. He grabs them, crazy throws. Doesn't have a throw game. Has a 1+2 throw that certainly hurts a lot. But in high level play, you better fucking be able to mix up those throws. Do you think anyone is gonna miss a 1+2 throw break at Evo? It's not happening. And then you mix that with only normal throws, which have a break window which is massive. You know, and then, oh, the intimidating monster. Yeah, you stand up close to him and it's like, he chokes. He needs too much time to wind up his stuff. Down forward 1 is what? 14 frames. Everything else is like clunky. Panic tools are what? Back 1+2? High? You're reduced to dick jabbing, and you have a huge hitbox where people can do enormous combos on you. It is worth pointing out that he does have a very interesting power crush in down 3+4 where you can absorb attacks and then punish. But, I mean, if you mistime that, you can be in some trouble. You can be in danger. Does have pretty high combo damages, especially if you get a really chunky counter hit. But it all comes with risk. Interesting mechanic in the charge up. Back 2 into Goliath or pressure, golem, whatever. It's like even the rage drive, which is very interesting, in my opinion, just isn't very strong. It's like a good player is going to know how to fucking not let you use that. Either by not standing up, putting himself on the ground with a flip or whatever, or hit you out of it. It just seems so hard to get any good utility out of it. And even when you get them stunned, you know, and you go into the rage drive, you need a read to get anything. Compare that to the other characters where it's like a super fast mid that on hit sometimes launches, sometimes does 1,000,000 damage, but in general gives you a guaranteed +5 to 8 unlock. It's like, I'm not impressed. And his strengths aren't very good. It's like Gigas is not a good character. He's absolutely not a good character. Where every other character has something where you go, you can play off this, you know, but no. So that was Gigas, and that was the tier list. Jesus, 3 hours and 10 minutes. But I think that went pretty good, considering it's just off of my head. I'm pretty happy with that and the way the characters are placed. I hope you all enjoyed listening to this. And I hope people on, a commentator on YouTube makes timestamps, because otherwise this is going to be a clusterfuck with 3 hours. And Do you think this will happen? Fuck 'em Ram, or fuck your mom, or fuck you man. I heard you man. Oh yeah, Johnny. It's been so long since I've seen you. Oh, I heard you main. Fuck you man. What was that? I think you insulted me. No, that was not an insult. I was just naming your character. Aren't you playing? Fuck you, man. Yeah, no. Are you insulting me? We're gonna see that a lot with that character, I think. Good shit. But yeah, fuck 'em Ram. I don't know where he's going to be, obviously. Oh, no. What? I can't remove him? Okay, this is so stupid. Okay, he'll be next to Gigas. Someone can console Gigas in his last place here. So, yeah, I just hope you all enjoyed the tier list. And thank you for listening to me. It's been a pleasure.